Okay, it's been a long road getting from there to here, but we have gone through 6 chapters so far. If I take a look, let's see how long we've been playing. It's 26 hours on record. I gotta say most of that's probably due to my narration. Because I looked at how long it takes to play this thing, and they estimate 10 hours. Maybe 15 if it's a completionist run. So almost double, thanks to the narration. Oh well. So, we have 2 dead people so far. Marianne stopped denying her feelings for her childhood crush and wound up believing the ghost committed suicide to be with her. Tragic, but seems to fit the past of this ghost. Ashton attempted to disarm Luke instead of begging. And I had really hoped that that would have ended some of the violence and we could have left. But no! Apparently he was impaled with a spear, and I have no idea where it came from. Though I suspect it's the ghost that's wrapped around Hana standing at the top of the stairs. She's probably possessing her. Or guiding her actions. Anyway, it's time to play Luke. I would say the low level there makes a lot of sense. It's pretty low with Hana right now, and surprisingly high with Marianne. Let's read a little bit about Luke's profile. Lucille Mitchell Luke. Right. He's 31. Of course he's a Leo. He's the president and CEO. He's British. He's atheist. He's a high school dropout that was privately tutored. He likes bread pudding, dogs, wine and absinthe, piano playing, daffodils, money, women, and power. A prostitute's son, he spent his childhood roaming the streets, begging or pickpocketing in order to avoid home. Home meant a too drunk mother and her equally drunk client, some of whom would take to beating the child out of anger if he looked at them wrong. And then he was always in trouble in one form or another. Nothing was done to correct it until in a sober moment his mother found out about the abuse and promised to take better care of her son. He was happy for a while, but his mother's bad habits led to an early grave and left him orphaned until his biological father, a businessman with no legitimate heir, sought him out. So he was trained to inherit Right Enterprise, but along the way he got mixed up with illegal activities. That put the company in a bad spot after his assistant ran off with a large sum of the dirty money. Bankruptcy would have been inevitable, but he married Hana. Well. To say I'm scared of what's happening is a gross understatement. Trouble of any sort is the last thing I want to go home to after a long day of work and a trip to the bar. And when I see Hana near prostrate, I can only feel dread. She twitches and seizes, body wound and coiled tight before trashing, shuddering, and shaking. That's thrashing. Like a woman possessed, her mouth falls open and her eyes roll back into her head. It's the hallmark signs of a seizure. The symptoms are similar enough. And that knowledge, the fact that I know this, only makes me feel worse. Any anger I had caused by our disagreement on parting ways, no matter how temporary she claimed it to be, had disappeared. The alcohol-induced haze that I felt was brushed aside as I ran to help her. None of that mattered at the moment. But to hold her close is all I can do while she thrashes it out. I know it's wrong, and that I'm not supposed to hold her down, but I do it out of instinct. I'm terrified of hurting her, but I see no other way to keep Hana from hurting herself. It takes a lot to keep myself from running off to get help when she needs me here. And it takes everything I have to keep myself intact. When she says my name, I realize the seizures have stopped, but that doesn't make the dread go away.
Please.
What happened here? Who did this to you?
I don't know. I'm so sorry.
The sight of your tear-streaked face is enough to twist the knife end. It doesn't help that I'm as lost as she is right now, and all I can say
Shh,
is...
it's all right. You're safe now, Hana. You're safe now.
It takes a bit to go through the house with my inebriated self. It's made even worse by the fact that I had to carry a nearly unconscious person as well. It's about to give up, too, until Shrocken shows up to lighten the load. He quietly takes her from me without question and brings her up to the bedroom. Me? Well, I couldn't bring myself to follow. Not right now. Not while I'm drunk and rattled by what's transpired. It was a miracle I was able to help at all. So here I am, skulking in a parlor chair with a glass of wine in hand. I can't even remember what particular vintage it is, and I didn't really care.
Because when you're already drunk and still have problems, even more alcohol should help.
Of course, the butler chooses now to appear and be unhelpful.
You know what actually solves all problems? Death. But it is not recommended.
Makes me wonder if he's actually part of this problem here. He's kind of Luke's guard, making sure he does what he's supposed to do. His jailer, in a way.
Alcohol isn't a true solution either.
It's worked well enough for me.
Seems unlikely. I'd like to believe that I get my best ideas when I'm thoroughly hammered. Not everyone might agree, but they can't really do anything about it, can they? With a fuck ton of money comes great power. Sometimes responsibility. And with that responsibility comes a lot of reasons to get drunk. Of course, I can just tell responsibility to sod off, and I was feeling reckless. And Christ, I must be really drunk if I'm thinking in circles. I just need something to focus on, and I should be fine.
How is she? Is she alright?
If panic crept into my voice at the question, I don't let it show. It would be a show of weakness to be so frazzled, to show so much concern over a woman who's going to put me aside. People like him work for me. I trust with business, but not with myself. Never with that. Only Hana has come so close. Only she's truly seen the man beneath the facade. Only her actions can wound me so.
Sleeping. Aside from a few bumps and bruises, she seems to be fine. A maid is watching over her for now. It is best not to leave her alone. But, if I may ask, what happened? I was in the gardens when I heard screaming. Did you...
No, it wasn't me.
I'm quick to be on the defensive. I may be capable of a lot of horrible things, but I would never harm her, of all people, no matter how angry I might become. I would never lay a hand on her to hurt her.
I didn't do anything. I wouldn't do anything like that. I don't even have a reason to.
You don't consider her wanting to be a part as reason?
It isn't. Well, it is. I don't want to talk about it right now. But what happens was I got home. She was seasoned in the kitchens. Is she ill?
Not that kind of doctor. But I've already scheduled your physician for a house call tomorrow morning.
What kind of doctor is he? We thought we'd lured him away from a medical practice. Maybe he's thinking... Maybe he wasn't that kind of doctor. Just like he said. Who treats epilepsy? A neurologist? Maybe he was a GP.
We'll still have to monitor her as soon as she wakes up and...
Oh God. Things are coming back to me, and I need a drink.
Really? You're still drinking?
Why, yes, it seems to be the bloody best time to be drinking. I'm allowed, aren't I? After all, I've just found my wife having a seizure, and I shouldn't give two shits about it. Not when she's about to leave me.
But I do. God, I do. A big, generous gulp makes it so that the taste of cherries, raspberries, and strawberries wash over my tongue. A thing too sweet, considering its deceptively earthy aroma. Avelnia's Vineyard Seasoned Red isn't really something to scoff at, and I've had many good memories with this particular drink. This particular bottle, in fact, was a gift. It serves the purpose Lady Blernel had given it to me for. To forget. All the same, whether I took this bottle or a Pinot Noir, it is just a means to an end. I'll probably have to finish the whole bottle to get drunker than I already am.
But no, she doesn't need to be taken care of. If she wants her time apart, she'll have it.
It'd break my heart just to let her go, but she deserves that much, doesn't she? We both deserve this much.
She's had her uses.
She's done a lot for me in the 7 years we've been together. I pursued her at first for the money. It was supposed to be strictly business. There might have been a time, too, when I considered taking her out of the picture so that I could do with the money as I pleased. I'd planned to manipulate her, and I feel horrible thinking about it. But along the way, I had changed, if only for her. Perhaps my father would scoff, tell me I've gone soft. Maybe I have. Doesn't matter. 7 long years. It had its ups and downs, and it certainly hasn't been a perfect marriage. We had our fights, but who hasn't? But those small moments where we could just laugh and be our happy selves were always magical. They made all the years worth it, and I'd seen many more years to come. So where did I go wrong? I've loved only 2 women in my life. Mother dear, bless her soul, and Hana, who has been my sunshine for so long. Losing her, I fear that I might become more like my father. Had Damien Wright stayed with my mother, or any of the other numerous women he's had a child with, would he have been less of an embittered shell of a man? Would having a darling love in his life have made him a better person? Perhaps it's bias of me to doubt so. I don't think I can ever see the old man in a favorable light.
I'm just surprised that you're not afraid. She might be leaving with delicate information.
Oh, she might know something. But if she hasn't done anything with the knowledge for this long, I don't think she would do anything now.
Oh, so yeah, he definitely knows.
If she had even an inkling of what I've done, what I'm capable of, she'll know it's not a good idea. Hana's a smart woman.
Smart, kind, hardworking, generous, loyal. I can go on and wax poetic about her if I had any talent with this stuff.
Why don't you sit down and have a drink with me? Don't worry, it's not poisoned or anything.
Lonely? Oh, I suppose there's no harm.
With a shake of my head, I procure another glass and pour some of the red wine. Watching the red liquid is fascinating all on its own with my muddled brain, and I barely notice sloshing some of it and staining my suit. It'll be an utter bugger to clean, so I'm glad that isn't my problem. Handing it over, I can't help but look up at the ceiling and sigh. My eyes, damp, glaze over, though I won't let it go further than that. Raising my own glass for a toast, I clear
A
my
drink
throat.
to... Do we really need a reason to? The world is messed up. War, terrorism, famine, poverty, loved ones and love lost. The world is a cesspool. Might as well be drunk if we're going to drown in it.
A bit less eloquent than your usual speeches, but zum Wohl.
A sip. A gulp. Refill. Rinse and repeat until the bottle of Velnay is barely a fifth left. Must have drunk most of it, because I barely see Shrocken take a sip after his first glass. It certainly feels that way. I don't even think I can stand up, let alone walk. I'm all legless. My mind just feels so funny, and everything else is equally hilarious. Bloody hell, I think I can make out faces of a bald man in the wallpapers. With the butler also standing up, he looks like a skyscraper from where I'm standing.
Jesus Christ, I have Sasquatch as a butler.
I have a great alcohol tolerance, so this, seeing how I'm a giggling wreck right now, I assume is really bad. If there's any sober part left of me, I'll probably shrivel up and die just thinking of the hangover that's going to come in the morning. But I can't help but get all distracted at the sight of moonlight peeking through the curtains, shiny and shimmery and absolutely splendid. Even if the night brought calm, it's the moon that always enamored me so. It's a second sun, but just as beautiful as my sunshine.
I want to go out and look at the moon. Mommy, I can't feel my legs.
Mutter, I am not. Don't tell me I have to carry you upstairs to bed.
You know, Hana, she told that photo man that I was a trying husband. I can't even. The nerve of them, right?
He can't even, you guys.
He goes and takes her out shopping, and they give me lip service in return. I bet they were talking shite while they were in the store spending my money.
It's not your money.
Am I a trying husband, Joe?
I wouldn't know. You're not my husband, are you? But you are a trying dumb cop when you are this drunk.
I didn't even do nothing. I did my best to behave decent. Whiskey and Mint are just good friends, that's all. And that Rochelle woman's baby isn't mine. I swear, I couldn't love any other woman than Hana. Hana must be so tired. I'm a brat, aren't I? She said as such. I don't want Hana to leave me, Joe. Oh God, she's the love of my life, you know? I'm a shite human being without her. I should...
You're a shite human being even with her.
Flowers. Lots and lots of flowers. All of the flowers. Enough to make the Queen's Gardens look like a fucking dumpster fire in comparison.
All well and good, but you are not achieving any of that while you are lying on the carpet. Now, if you can lift your skinny ass and work with me. 1, 2, 3.
But I don't want to go to bed. The moon is so pretty tonight.
I should just let you sleep on the ground, Bratwurst.
He even calls him Bratwurst to himself.
Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day. Come on, Mommy, wake up. I want to be in that play. Mommy, wake up. You promised that you'd help me practice my lines today. The auditions are tomorrow, so I have to practice to the last syllable of recorded time. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to Dusty. Mommy, are you all...
There's definitely a shit ton of alcoholism in his family. I choke back a scream and wake up in a cold sweat. With my heart pounding in my ears, it takes a while to remember where I am. In the dark and cold of the room, one can't fault me for feeling ill at ease. It isn't as bright as the penthouse, and the renovations did little to change how old it feels. We've been here for less than a week, and it'll take a bit more time to adjust. It's hard to feel cozy, though, when I'm bloody freezing. Nudging the lump of fabric next to me, I sigh.
It's cold. Don't hug the sheets, Hana.
Yeah, what do you mean about that's not Hana? She always did this, though it hardly bothers me. Growing up, I was lucky to have something to use as a mattress. I'm not the one who grew up accustomed to Egyptian cotton with a thread count of 800. Besides, the warmth that Hana exuded on her own is usually enough to keep me sleeping through the night. The temperature night must be something else with how chilly it is right now. I must be considerate. After all, the poor dear is ill, though I loathe to think about what has just transpired.
Don't make me pull those sheets off you. That blanket is large enough to cover an elephant. You need to share.
It takes a while.
What was that, honey? Apologies. I'm just in the loo, so if you can give me a moment.
There's no sign that they'll be moving where they lie. With care, I go for a knife hidden under my side of the bed, and it would be foolish of me to investigate anything while I'm unarmed, after all. To pull back the covers would be a more difficult affair, because reaching out to uncover who is underneath, I have to prepare for anything and assume the worst. If I so much as see the nozzle of a gun, there's going to be a murder tonight. So he keeps a knife in his bedroom. And there's somebody in their bed. I know how they say not to bring a knife to a gunfight, but I think I can sink a blade in his liver faster than he can point and aim. I see the rise and fall of the sheets, though it could easily be mistaken as the fault of the breeze. I hear their breathing. A great sense of foreboding comes over me, making me hesitate with my plan. I should just get Hana and myself out of here, not look back and let security handle it. That's what they're there for. Or maybe I should just man up. There's no way I'm risking the chance that inaction will put Hana in danger. What's the worst that could happen, right? I've no reason to be afraid. There's no boogeyman under the bed, no monster in my closet. If anything, these things should be afraid of me, right? I grab a fistful of sheets and throw them aside. Nothing. Nothing but a bunch of pillows staring back at me. Must be my imagination. I'd rather not think I'm going mad. It could very well be the stress getting to me, all this drama with Hana. been doing well all these years, all things considered. I guess I do have a breaking point. But still, the world goes on even if I cannot, and I must go along with it. I suppose a day or two tomorrow, a day off or two. You can't take 2 days off tomorrow. I suppose a day or two off wouldn't hurt. Rest, aside from a few hours of sleep, would be welcome. More than. But I can't shake off the unease. I dare say that I feel afraid, and irrationally so, that something will come creeping and crawling from under the bed even as I lay back down and close my eyes. The odd dreams don't linger, thankfully. But with the morning comes another disturbance, both too loud and too sharp for my tastes. This'll be Luke. And I have very fine tastes. When the piercing rings of doorbell reach even the bedroom, I'm very much inclined to think the person who built this place lacks any sense of it. Perhaps the only thing good in this is that the ruckus has chased away the needling guilt from last night's commotion. If only temporarily. Yes, last night was a bad night for Luke. Still, it's a bloody annoying distraction. I can tell already that it's going to be a long day, and it hasn't even started. Before the racket lasts even another minute, I'm peeling myself off the bed and heading straight for the main door. There will be a murder today if this doesn't let up. How quaint. It seems everything in this blasted universe is intent on getting in my nerves as of late.
Gordon Bennett! Only a Nancy would knock at such an ungodly hour!
Gordon Bennett's definitely a minced oath there. In the first place, I shouldn't be the one doing this. This is why I hired a valet, for fuck's sake.
Where's that damn butler when I need him?
I'll be honest, if only for today. With a mansion this quiet, at this hour of the morning, it's easy to believe those little ghost stories might be real. But the only horror here is how long Hannah's patience with me will last after the incident at the party. Neither the deafening silence nor the biting chills spreading across every room in the place. There's no place for fear when another set of problems already burns that fuel. So I wait for another second. And when no butler answers my call, I simply yank the doors open myself, perhaps with more force than is needed. And maybe it should be appropriately there, considering the person on the other side and the hour he dared appear on my doorstep. Even someone with half a brain knows not to disturb anyone this early. Brief confusion quickly gives way to anger, and before the bloody photographer can even get a word in, I'm hurling venom at him. It's less than he deserves, really. Hannah would disapprove, scold me for treating the man with such disrespect if she hears me right now. She seems fond of him, after all, treats him like a friend she's known for years. But she's not here, is she? What she doesn't know?
You! Again! It's bloody 6 in the morning! What the hell is it now?
Listen, sir, I know this is not a good time.
Oh, it's not a good time! Did you even check the clock before coming here? I bet you didn't!
This is still my home, and my rules apply to this place as much as Hannah's do. It's as simple as that.
Unlike you, the ones living in this house need to sleep.
Just so happens, it's also a person that I'll never take a liking to. No need for remorse.
Come back when people are actually awake, or I'll call security on you.
He continues shouting, even as I slam the door in his face. Some nonsense about the news lately, though I don't understand most of it. However, with the doors closed, muffling the better part of it, and with no ears to listen, his tirade doesn't last too long. Eventually he leaves, and silence once again fills the room, as it should. In hindsight, maybe I should also call for psychiatric services? He certainly sounds mental just screaming like that. A suspicious man like him left roaming the immediate grounds? Nothing good can come of it. But if his presence will indeed bring a problem, a sign of bad things to come, I'll probably know soon enough. Worst comes to worst, Johans will take care of it if need be. That's what I'm paying him for. In the meantime, the bigger problem is at hand. A hangover. Maybe I'll have some absinthe to temper it, dog hairs, or some wine to help me get back to sleep. It's still early, and 1 glass won't hurt. Or 2. Whatever the case, I need to think, wherever that would lead me to. It's nothing. Everything leads to nothing. Except for this pounding headache, as if my mind would burst at any time and leak out of my ears. My vision swims in and out of view. My stomach threatens rebellion, with plans making me throw up what little food I've taken in, and how my mouth feels like it's filled with cotton. One would think that the fact that I'm hungover would make me the grumpiest person in the room. But as it is, my eyes move over to Hana, who's stirring sugar into her tea and scowling down at it, all the while as if it has just murdered a baby in front of her. I've half a mind to bemoan my current state and make the fool of myself, just to make her smile. I'm rather good at bemoaning. Not that I should admit that. Why, I'm already adopting the posture of a whiny teenager as I speak, slouched forward with my cheek upon the table.
Oh, I'm dying. Oh, God, I'm dying. Hana? Johans, call an ambulance, please. Let it be known that I leave all my belongings to Hana right near Evans. Everything but 30,000 quid. But oh, I see a bright light. I see a farm. Mother dearest, is that you? Little Lucille is on his way home. I'm so sorry, but I must leave you, Hana. Cover my face. Your eyes dazzle. I die young.
That much I can manage through the hangover, a thing entirely of my fault, considering that I drank twice the night before. Another thing I'd never admit. Really, it's a miracle I haven't accrued alcohol poisoning
Oh,
yet.
stop being so melodramatic, Luke. Besides, you never lived in a farm. You hate farms. We are not bringing you to the hospital for a hangover. Really. One would think you'd be used to it by now with how stubborn you are about your drinks. Dare I ask what the 30,000 quid is for, though?
She pulls a small smile from her, for a moment. But the pinched look on her face returns quickly enough.
He lost a bet with Robert and Elise after a night of drinking at the Crawl. 10,000 each. And another 10 to me.
The sneer that makes its way on my face doesn't hold much heat, as it usually does. It's just a bit of friendly ribbing. Though, I still wish he wouldn't tattle. Of course, it was my fault for mentioning the money. It wasn't like anyone would notice 30 grand missing from millions, though. That's how much I spend on a normal weekend.
Oh, must you be such a teacher's pet? I told you not to talk about it.
I'm having second thoughts about moving to the penthouse. If this is what you do when I'm not looking.
I've almost forgotten about that little arrangement, too. Shame. Hopefully that's the reason why she's so intent on glaring at the table until its varnish peels off. The alternative would be sobering.
It was that one time. I'm not a child in need of minding or mother hens. As much as I'd love for you to stay, you said you need some time to yourself. Don't let the fact that I lost a bet once make you think I have to be supervised.
It wasn't. I'm just worried about you, Luke. I'd be less so if you actually sat up.
She is so in love with this absolute jerk. Not blindingly so, just... She's got a big heart in that big chest.
Why are you worried about me? I'm more concerned about what your doctor told you. How did the house call go?
I didn't want to intrude on her privacy when the doctor arrived. A ridiculous sentiment, considering I am still her husband. But it wasn't like I could have done any good by being there, what with nursing a hangover and all. However, a part of me feared what would be said, not to mention that I trust Hannah would tell me if something is serious. Of course, it probably is something bad, and I would be a fool to hope otherwise. I found her having a seizure, for goodness sake. I should have rushed her to the hospital as soon as she awoke, but it was her insistence that kept me at bay. A cup of tea finds itself in my hands, an attempt to appease me, no doubt. But I don't bother to drink it, let alone look up. If anything, I just press my forehead on the table to hide the childish pout on my lips. Not that that's any better.
It was fine. The physician took some of my blood, and he scheduled me for a few lab tests tomorrow morning. I've already called for a driver and attendant to accompany me, so there's no need for you to worry.
And what? You'll just be leaving me behind then? And I don't think you should be going anywhere alone.
She'll be with 2 other people, not literally alone, although I can understand his desire to join his wife.
You hate hospitals even more than you hate farms, Luke. And Kylie's coming for your play date tomorrow, remember?
Great.
Relax. I'm taking Johans with me if it makes you feel better.
Creepy Kylie in this place. Not good.
Herr Dr. Hobbs asked that I keep her under observation for the time being. Naturally, I'll be reporting my findings at the hospital.
Interestingly enough, Hobbs is another name for the devil. Sitting up, I run a finger over the rim of my teacup and mull it over. I do hate the bloody place. I thought hiring Johans would be enough to help me avoid the place. Apparently not. Bloody doctors and bloody sick people. I don't want to catch anything contagious. I can't even tell crying people to shut up if they get too annoying. Respecting their grief, my arse. Save for a life and death situation, I'd rather avoid the mass graveyard that hid beneath the sterile air and white tiles.
I guess you two can go without me.
You can understand that the reason that he probably doesn't like that is his mother died early of alcohol-related whatever. Just like his liver is failing.
But I can't believe how naturally you two conspire behind my back.
Conspire, discuss things like normal human beings while you're drunk.
Don't expect my help if those bloody doctors bleed you two dry. Vampires, every single one of them. Not as bad as lawyers and politicians, but close enough. You do know Carly will be upset when she finds out you're not here tomorrow. Again.
She'll be happy enough to spend time with her fairy godfather, I'm sure. You're a good role model for her, despite your whining.
Yeah, it's his literal, actual one good point. Is the fact that he has moments. They're not always that, but he has moments where he's good with kids. The one literal redeeming quality. Loving somebody who's lovable isn't a redeeming quality. No matter how many times Hana claims that whining is unbecoming of me, I never listen. It's not like anyone that matters is here to judge. Wow, he just basically said she didn't matter. Well, it's not like anyone else actually matters. I'll whine if I bloody well want to, and I'll be no lesser because of it. Of course, I will not tolerate another person's whining, except perhaps for Hana, but she hardly ever does that. Even right now, I can see a look of pain passes on her face, and her hand goes to her stomach. Yet she keeps quiet, not bringing it up or complaining. What should I do? We could ask if she's alright, or we could completely overreact, which is the very Luke style, even though I know it's gonna piss Hana off. There's no thought behind it as I procure my mobile from my pocket and dial emergency services. The curious looks thrown my way are largely ignored when I get up to my feet and make my way to
Johans,
the
go
door.
and bring the car around. We'll meet the ambulance halfway in Anselm.
Ambulance! Luke, I'm fine! There's no need to call for an ambulance.
Plus, there's a part of me that just really wants to get that down as low as possible. Just absolutely compound Luke being a twat. I think it'll get him killed. Kinda need him to die.
Yes, there is. Hobbs is obviously a gormless, incompetent muppet if he can't get you a hospital appointment today. After you've had a bloody goddamn seizure at that. I'm not waiting until you have another one.
With my back turned to them, I didn't expect any sort of resistance. So I was largely unprepared as Hana grabs my hand and tries to take the phone away from me. Takes a bit, of course, considering how weakened the woman is with a recent condition. But I don't wish to hurt her by accident. She soon slaps the phone out of my hand in protest. And I can only stare, wide-eyed and furious.
What in blazes are you doing, Hana?
Emergency 112, this is being recorded. What's your emergency?
I am fine, Luke. There's no need for an ambulance.
We are not taking any chances with your health, especially since you insist that you'll be leaving soon. I do not want to visit one day only to find you bedridden and in need of a nursemaid. Or worse.
Hello? Hello? Do we need to send the police to break up a domestic dispute?
There's a pause as the dispatcher's voice continues to ring out of the thing's speakers. It's all ill-timed and unwelcome. That doesn't change the fact that it was already said. Domestic dispute. The words put a bitter taste in my mouth. What would the others think if they heard this? It's not true, of course. We're merely arguing, and this is normal. People argue. Our shouting stops, but neither of us make a move to pick it up until the butler does to
My
answer.
apologies, it is a mistaken dial. A butt dial, as you say. But there's nothing to worry about. It's just a young couple being melodramatic. You know how they are nowadays.
Can we verify with the affected parties?
I want to scream. There's nothing fine about this. But Hana shouts, and her words make me forget what I was saying in the first
I'm
place.
fine. I just need some tea, some rest, and some peace from you.
The anger in her voice is palpable. The way she looks at me, brows furrowed and mouth nearly a snarl, has me reeling. Of course she doesn't want me around. That's probably why she's leaving after all. She wants her space, my arse. It's all a bunch of excuses, a bunch of bollocks. And the anger dies away and her face goes pale, eyes wide as she realizes what she's done. There's regret, but it's already been said and those words can't be taken back.
I'm sorry, Luke. I didn't mean it that way. You're just...
Just what? Nosy, annoying, overbearing, belligerent, not wanted, stressful to be around? Please do go on and continue what you were saying before I so rudely interrupted you.
I wasn't going to say any of that. Luke,
No, actually, you know what? You're so desperate to be rid of me, I'll give you that satisfaction. You don't need to suffer my presence any longer. I'm going out. Don't bother waiting up for me.
I walk out of the parlor, rage in my every step. Neither of them bothers to follow, which suits me just fine. But when I realize I still have the teacup in my hand, I can't stop myself from throwing it across the room. Porcelain shatters as it hits the wall and tea spills across the carpet. Outside. I need to go outside, away from this house, away from them. I need to breathe. Breathe. Gray skies loom over in the horizon as the sun fights for every precious minute it gets to stay. It'll rain again soon, with the wind bringing along the gloomy clouds normal to Luxborn. Until then, it doesn't hurt to be out here for the fresh air and sunshine. I walk to the gardens, what little there is of it at the moment anyway, and kneel by the daffodils. These were the first to be brought here and planted on my request, and if nothing else, they brought a sense of peace. They were my mother's favorites. Closing my eyes, I lift my chin up to welcome the light that shines upon me, and for a minute, I can imagine myself as one of the flowers, peaceful and blooming and all too happy to stand in its warmth. It would be much easier if we were all like flowers, wouldn't it? But I didn't step out here to get all philosophical. I have problems much more practical than figuring out the meaning of life, after all. Too much has gone on in the past few days, and I want to forget about them, even if for a moment.
It's almost All Saints, isn't it? To think I've almost forgotten.
I speak the words absent-mindedly. The date means nothing to me, as I neither worship the religion nor have any graves to visit. After all, Mother was never even given a proper burial. But it's a date, as good as any, for me to grieve. Otherwise, I would have done so every single day, crippling myself and shutting everyone out. I can remember how the flames licked at her flesh and how it consumed her body until there was nothing left but ash. I stood there watching with the operator and a social service worker, though I could have been alone for all I cared. I felt alone. It was the most that could be done. No one would attend the funeral of a dead prostitute, let alone pay for it. All that is left of her, proof that she'd lived, is her name written in the ledger of Luxborn Cemetery, a lighter, and me. Pulling out the lighter from my jacket, I can't help myself from flicking it open to stare at the flame and to run my thumb over the name. All in all, it isn't much, but it's something. And it would be wrong of me not to make something of myself when she would have been given everything to make sure that I could become anything I wanted to be.
Feels like I'm stuck in a nightmare right now. What I would give to have you here by my side, Mother dear. To see you smiling at me. Alive and as beautiful as ever. I'm afraid I'm starting to forget what your face looks like. I've already forgotten the shade of your hair.
Eleanor Chandler was a wonderful woman, though not everyone would have agreed. Not everyone had seen past her occupation or her vices and her illness. All they saw was a poor woman who sold her body to make ends meet and had a bastard son because of it. They didn't see the mother who worked hard to put food on the table for me, or the woman that gave and gave and gave to me while expecting nothing in return. She taught me the merits of hard work, but though I loved her so, I worked hard for myself. I would not be so foolish, so selfless towards people who would never give back. I learned that from my father, who plucked me out of an orphanage for his own selfish gain. I pocket the lighter before I can feel the urge to actually set anything ablaze. Considering my close proximity to the flowers, they would be the most likely victim of arson. Just the thought of itself is blasphemous. Nevertheless, that doesn't save them from being picked. Just enough to make a bouquet of things in honor of Eleanor.
Would you be proud of me if you saw me now, Mother? Maybe. You're always so forgiving. No matter what trouble I got into, more than I deserved. Especially now.
It's been a while since I talked to my mother like this. I've been thinking of both my dear parents far too much as of late, when I shouldn't. I have a future to look forward to and the present to take care of. These memories of the past give me nothing but grief. The life of Lucille Mitchell Chandler would be nothing but a footnote in Luke Wright's non-existent autobiography. It's because of Hannah, isn't it? I worry that she's all too much like Mother, and that scares me. And the thought that I'm turning into my father is even more so. But even if history is set to repeat itself, I'm not a child anymore. Content to sit aside, unable to do anything to help, and too inexperienced to think that the worst wouldn't happen. I have money to buy the best medicines and doctors if need be. She'll get better. She has to. But once we get over this little bump in the road, I can stop worrying. All will be right with the world. Fortunately, my time alone is cut short, though.
I think those flowers look beautiful, my lord. The parlor, the room where the lady stays for her tea, it could certainly use some.
The voice is not familiar, though I'm not really one to remember such things. Look at that necklace there. That's definitely the ghost girl. She's a lot prettier there. And that necklace has... I'm guessing Japanese. You know, it's almost certainly that Takako, Kylie's friend, is the ghost. We want to bet. Strange, considering I've sent all the staff but Johann away. And her face, pretty as it is unfamiliar to me. It would be a lie if I said that it didn't set me on edge. Most would say I cared little for my employees, but that isn't entirely untrue. However, I'd like to think I know the people who work for me, especially those who would roam my home, even if it's just a face and a name. Besides, I would remember a beauty such as her. So who is this? Is she someone impersonating a household staff to get in? She's doing a bad job.
Didn't you get the memo? Are you new? Today is a day off. You aren't supposed to be here.
I expect poor excuses and apologies the likes of her often give, but she merely smiles.
Oh, no. I've been a servant here since you first came.
And I see no signs of lying, nor hear it in her words. But they can't be true. Yet I feel like I can relax. She has that sort of smile that makes one's kindness shine through without words or action. It reaches her eyes, filling them with a strange sort of mirth, as though she's just thought of something funny. Yes, we've always been here. You've always been the caretaker. Perhaps if it had been any other person, I would have interpreted it as a deceitful grin. But the curl of her lips and the shine of her eyes are too soft to hold any malice. She takes my silence as a sign that she can continue. And it's not like I feel any urgency to stop her. I'm not really in the mood for company, but I'm not adverse to it at the moment either. Entertaining a beauty like her, even for a little while, wouldn't hurt. It helps that she proves easy to listen to, despite how oddly she speaks.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I shouldn't have bothered you. Look at me, talking to the master of the house without even asking for permission. What will the others think? If you'll excuse me, I'll just...
I haven't driven you away yet, have I? And it's your day off. I don't see why we can't chat a bit.
Of course. If that is what you wish. As long as it does not get you into trouble with the lady. To even take time for someone as lowly as me. No wonder that everyone under the mansion's employ is so fond of you.
Yeah, that ghost totally thinks that he's the dude in the paintings.
Though it should have no longer been a surprise to me. You have always been such a kind and loving lord.
So he was banging the hell out of her. That explains why she gets burned. Makes sense. I have to stop myself from calling her out on that shite. It's almost as if she's talking about an entirely different man. No matter how big my ego gets, I know for a fact that I'm hardly in the running for Best Boss of the Year award. The only reason that most of my staff stay is because of the decent compensation. I'm not cheap. But if she wants to lay it on thick, I'll allow it. Who wouldn't want a beautiful woman complimenting them?
I'm sure she'll be fine with this. We are just talking after all. Unless you had other things on your mind when you approached me.
The words leave my mouth before I even realize what I've said. I panic a bit. Though I can get away with picking up women out in the city, sometimes even out of the county, I've always taken care not to do so in my home or my businesses. Not when it would be so easy for Hana to find out about my infidelity through these channels. No, seriously, I still don't see what the big deal about it is. I just have an itch I need to scratch.
I know it must be amusing to see a girl flustered for a man of your stature. But please don't say such things, my lord. I saw you alone and simply thought you could use some company.
Thankfully, and I do count my lucky stars, it seems the woman takes it as a joke rather than a casual pass that it was intended to be.
So how are you liking your work around the mansion? The place is wonderful, but I imagine the upkeep is ungodly with all the rooms and whatnot. I don't even want to think about how many people are on the staff roster.
Work is work, my lord. It is a way of living. A purpose from day to day. It is certainly far better than doing nothing or having no food to eat. The house itself is also beautiful. There's no lack of things to look at. I'm sure you've seen those books in the study. I can't read any of them yet, but if given the chance, I'm sorry. I shouldn't be thinking of those things. Especially when the rains, they might bring more work to us soon. It will definitely be much more difficult when it returns. Idling about is the least I should be doing.
I guess you can put it that way if you want to be brutally honest about the whole thing. And the rain shouldn't be a problem. Hopefully. Maybe.
A little dreary, but at least she doesn't beat around the bush. I like the honesty. Many would bemoan their status as a household staff, as a janitor or other menial role, and believe themselves to be for greater things. And I would not begrudge the idea that one can always be better. But one shouldn't be so discontent with what they have either.
The rain is something I simply must get accustomed to, if I am to live here. I've not spent long in this place after all. But I have been told that it has rained in this nation since a mother's time, and their mother's time. There is little we can do about it. I am just glad to have time in the sun, even for a short while.
Isn't that the truth? Really, these sunny days have been welcome, though I can't imagine they'll last for long.
He is so detached from the nature of reality. I don't know if it's just because she's very, very pretty, or he has no idea that she's just weird. He's a unsubtle sort.
Sometimes I just want to pack my things and leave for somewhere like, say, the Bahamas or whatnot. Get some sun and surf.
But certainly, you will return for us, won't you? This is your home, after all. Your people, they won't be pleased if the master of the house leaves.
Of course, I can't very well leave my businesses hanging here, can I? I just wish I could actually trust people enough to go on vacation without taking work with me. I've also got to get back here if I ever want proper meals. A proper pudding is something you'll never find out there.
The woman nods in understanding, and I must say she makes for a fine listening ear. What she says next gives me pause, whether she meant for me to hear it or not.
And good tea. From what the cook has been telling me, I've yet learned how to prepare one. Perhaps once I do, it would endear the lady of the house to me.
It's interesting that a big theme of this game has been people listening without making judgments.
I never expected her to be so unkind after what she did for me. Though it's only if one catches her in a foul mood. I wish I knew how to avoid her anger.
I highly doubt she means harm. That woman rarely has a mean bone in her body. And when she is actually nasty towards someone else, it's usually deserving enough, much like with that Rochelle woman. Hell, she even tolerates Harvey for me, even if she did admit that she doesn't like him. She must mean the head housemaid, right? I have to laugh at that. Not that I have room to speak, I don't deal with her myself anymore though. Johann has a few choice words about the head hag. She's just been under the right employ, when she was also the head housemaid for my father. And if anyone's not going to get along with someone, it'd be that crotchety old woman. I don't even remember her name. But the woman has been in the strict, upstart bitch who took one look at me, her master's bastard son, and turned her nose up, as if she were better by mere consequence of birth. That and she absolutely loathed my very existence. Perhaps the rumors had been true. She had a miscarriage while bearing another one of dearest father's children, and she saw me as an obstacle to being granted a better standing in life. I remember that much, at least. The only reason I haven't sacked her yet is because of her competence. Also, because working under my household makes her absolutely miserable, and her resignation made impossible by her pride.
Nobody really gets along with that woman. I think everyone just tolerates her because of how old she is. I mean, not to be rude or awful or anything, but she's at the age where she'll be pushing daisies soon enough.
Is she? Really, my lord? I'm sure the lady is much younger than that.
I think the thought of tormenting the young and beautiful gives her reason to live.
It does seem that way. Though I feel sorry for her. One's life should not be wasted away on hatred and anger. It is never good for the heart or the head to always carry ill thoughts. But at the least, you are here for us. We are certainly so lucky to have a lord like you. The lady even more so. The gods smile down on her. Though, if I may be honest, she is to be envied.
Even when I have my suspicions about her, she's just so easy to talk with that I've forgotten. I don't know who she is, and if she's actually one of the household staff. That would explain why she would give so easily wrong statements about the character. I misread that. Let me say that again. I don't know who she is, and if she's actually one of the household staff. That would explain why she would so easily give obviously wrong statements about my character. But if she's here for malicious reasons, she could have done more than do small talk with me by now, wouldn't she? I have so many questions. Perhaps curiosity will have killed this cat.
It's strange that I've never seen you before. What's your name?
Takako.
You do not remember?
I don't believe you've mentioned it, or am I missing something?
You still cannot comprehend it. Can you, my lord?
Her answer chips away at the good mood that I'm starting to get into. I have every right to be angry at the cryptic response. She threatens insubordination with her very presence alone. But instead of hurling vitriol at the woman, I take a deep breath. I don't want my mood ruined further than it already is. Not right now, when I can let my temper take its course another time.
Whatever your name is, and no matter how long you've been working for us, that does not change the fact that you shouldn't be here. I'll call you a cab to bring you to the city if you want.
Shouldn't I? What if I do not wish to leave?
Uh-oh.
I merely desire to stay by your side and serve. Is that such a deplorable thing?
Her gaze sends chills down my spine. It's too easy to see the devotion, the obsession in her eyes, and not the good sort either, as her scrutiny makes me feel like I'm laid bare. The offness of her presence is all the more palpable with the feeling of bugs crawling on my skin and the silence that makes it seem as if the world has stopped. Any friendly atmosphere we might have had going for us is completely forgotten. Danger, a small part in the back of my mind screams. That part has kept me alive all these years, and in hindsight I'd be stupid not to take heed of it. But I've grown arrogant, complacent, and content to hide behind wealth and power. Hit Smitty, thanks for the host. Much appreciated.
Yes, it's a deplorable thing, as you said, because I'd like to be alone now. Thank you very much. If you didn't want the day off, you should have reported to your superior. This is utterly unprofessional of you, and I shall be issuing complaints. In fact, if you know it's good for you, you should start looking for another employer.
It's at my threat that the smile on her face turns tight.
I see. It escapes you still. This is unfortunate.
She's disappointed that he hasn't figured out who she is or hasn't sunken into whatever melodrama that the ghost is weaving.
How despairing that this misery must go on. But maybe, if you come with me, I can help you. I can...
When she reaches out for me, I recoil with a hiss.
How dare you lay your filthy hands on me without my permission? I am not going anywhere with you. Now step back and walk away before I have you forcibly removed.
As if a switch has been flipped, the woman's expression turns horrific. That may very well be the understatement of the century. She, herself, turns horrific. Her presence is suffocating, bearing down on me. I'm rooted in the spot, through no fault of my own, as my fear paralyzes.
You are too much like that vile woman, poisoned by her rotten influence and her filthy words. But that can be remedied now that you're here. Oh, how we have waited to welcome you home. Come, my lord. The house beckons.
When her fingers grasp the back of my coat, I finally find it in me to break off into a run. I can still feel her eyes on me as I run back into the house, but I refuse to acknowledge it, let alone look back. All I need is to get away from her and to make sure she stays away. If that means acting like a coward and seeking out company to keep me safe, nobody can tell me to do otherwise. Bravery isn't something to be lauded at if it comes with stupidity. It must have been a sight to see the usually composed and reserved Luke Wright bursting through the doors. Not that I have much of an audience, unless there's other staff members who have chosen to disregard my orders for them to leave. Really, I still doubt if that woman even is one of the staff. Mustering up courage, I look back through the windows to see if she followed me. But she's gone. But I don't take any chances, putting as much distance as I can between us. Stopping to catch my breath, Johan's sudden appearance nearly makes me jump out of my skin.
Don't fucking do that! You son of a bitch! If I had a gun, I would have shot you!
If I had any love left for my Mutter, I'd take offense. But what happened to you? You look like you've seen a ghost.
Quite literally. Oh, if only it were such a delusion. But I can still feel her sharp nails digging into my back. Not the worst feeling in the world. The feeling was too real for it to have been a ghost.
There was his housekeeper. I think, I'm not sure. In the gardens. She was acting odd, and I thought to remove myself from the scene.
Strange, I made sure the rest of the staff had left and that the house was empty, so you requested. Describe this woman.
She had pale skin, dark eyes, and long, dark hair. She wouldn't give me her name.
Half expect a name from him. The man knows the top staff better than I do, after all, but instead of an answer, he grows quiet. I'm pretty sure that's a good thing. I'm pretty sure that's not a good thing. I'm even more worried when the other man looks me over, and I have to protest when he pulls back my collar.
What in the bloody hell are you doing?
Checking for marks. Needle marks, to be exact. We don't have anyone like that among the staff. You could have easily been kidnapped.
A cold feeling settles itself over me at the thought. I've long established my power over the more unsavory characters in Muxborn. Or I thought I had. And the most harm that I thought could come to me would be slander, robbery, or incarceration. Kidnapping? An attempt on my own person? I've forgotten that I'm as human, as mortal as any other man despite my wealth and status.
Fortunately, you look unharmed. But I advise that you be accompanied by trusted individuals at all times from now on. If not me, an assigned guard. I'll be informing them of this soon, as they return from their day in the city.
Already I can feel the energy leave me as the realization of what could have been.
All right. Yes, I suppose we should do that. But I think I'd like to call it a day. I should be safe in bed, yes?
I'll stand guard outside for the night. The madam has been inquiring about you, by the way.
A guard. Any other threat, and he alone would be enough to make me feel safe. But what I saw, whatever it was I saw, would one man be enough?
That's all well and good, but there's something else. That housekeeper, she...
Luke, you're home. I was worried about you.
The grin that I can muster is probably lopsided. Forced, as I snapped my mouth shut to keep myself from blabbing about witches and monsters. Because here I am, standing in the hallway, dirt on my pant legs and sweat dotting my forehead. A far cry from my usually pristine condition. I don't want to worry Hana. A cough.
What happened to you? You look like you wrestled in the mud and moss, dear. And those flowers. Were you gardening?
What? Oh, these. I didn't realize I still had them.
I really did not. But there they are, still in my grip, the daffodils taken from the garden. Even in the wake of my flight, I had refused to let them go, whether I was conscious of it or not.
Shall I put them in a vase?
No, just throw them away. Looking at them only brings terrible thoughts, a horrible sense of ennui. Yeah, we could have given it to Hana, which would have been nice, but F that. Therefore, Mother, I want to confess, I want to cry out, break down for reasons that escape me. I've grown weak. But I choke, because even Hana, sweet Hana, doesn't know the importance of these flowers. I could never bring myself to give that up. Everything else I've laid bare to her. Everything but this. Hana knows me as Lucille Mitchell, son of Damien Wright, but not son of Eleanor Chandler. I've always feared that even with her kindness, she would think lesser of me if she knew.
I was just pruning. I'll probably kill the thing rather than help it. Why don't you make yourself useful and throw these away?
I shoved the flowers into Johan's arms without a second thought, hoping that they'd misinterpret my guilty look of one for discomfort and annoyance. The guilt is ridiculous, though. The flowers do nothing for them.
You could have told the gardener to do it tomorrow, Luke. I know you're meticulous about those flowers, but asking for help isn't going to kill you.
I was bored. Anyway, what's done is done. We can clean up what I left behind in the morning.
I expect a scolding of some sort, but none comes as she only shakes her head with a sigh. For once, I'm allowed to sleep without further incident, though the rest does not come easy. Didn't get any sleep, not a single wink. I was so busy jumping at every shadow and worrying about waking with a knife in my chest. Or not waking at all, even when Hana wakes, in spite of a mild fever, and goes downstairs for breakfast. I stay in bed, thoughts of poisoned food running through my head. The rain that has started sometime during the night doesn't help the mood. Okay, maybe it helps, just a little. The strange sunny weather has been nice and all, but for it to return to be as it should, feels like a sign of good things to come. Perhaps things will settle back to normal, and the crazy drama that has gone on lately will die down. I would hate to be caught unawares in this rain. And with how it looks outside, it seems that the weather is making up for all the sunny days it's given us with an old-fashioned downpour. The rhythmic pitter-patter of the rain fills the early morning silence with a steady beat. Thank goodness I don't have to be anywhere in a hurry today. I would hate to be caught unawares in this rain. This is the eventful day, the 31st. With how it looks outside, it seems that the weather's making... Oh, they gave it to me twice. It does let up within the quarter of an hour. However, a day beginning with a cloudburst like this, Locals usually take it as an immediate sign. Luxburn's abysmal weather is back, and likely for good. And we're back to sun. I hope they did a damn good job of fixing this place, because I'd rather not have to deal with leaky roofs. I don't like the idea that the realty did such a horrid patch job with the place. We, well, Hana, technically, paid millions for this place. It bid her live up to the price the realty company sold it for. Roof problems aside, she's going to be a definite downer about this as well. She hates the rain. Then again, who actually does like it? What sane person would like it when 9 out of 10 days consist of nothing but dark, drab, and gray skies and piss water pouring down from the heavens? And she was just starting to enjoy the sunlight. I'll have to get up and about eventually, that's a given, but I'm not too keen on seeing or talking to Hana before she leaves for the hospital. Or eventually in a few days' time, this bloody house. Kylie won't like it if she comes here only to find me in a bad mood. Few would dare rouse me from bed. Being able to keep their jobs is incentive enough. I trust they realize that now is not a good time to force me into anything. Maybe I can just get an hour or two sleep before Suarez drops his brat off on the mansion steps. If only. But as always, somebody has to be a buzzkill.
Are you really going to stay in bed all day?
What do you want?
You must have been really rattled by what happened yesterday. If you need to talk about it, I am quite qualified in that regard.
So he's a psychiatrist.
And you aren't even the slightest bit bothered. Truly. Not even the slightest bit worried?
I was worried. But I realized that it's not my life in danger, is it? My worrying will not help matters. Neither will yours.
Loath as I am to admit it, he's right. Still, it's more frustrating when he doesn't give me time to conceive the point.
I know you two aren't getting along.
Nosy bugger.
But you should at least see the madam off before we leave. Think of her as a business associate if you must. It would not do to part on bad terms.
He's not wrong.
It's far too early to deal with your nosiness.
That's none of his business. None of it. If he remembers his place, he'll drop it. I don't want to talk to Hana. Not now. I'm so high-strung and paranoid. This whole thing is a bloody mess with everything going off at once. I'm afraid that with our troubles, I'll misinterpret anything that she might say or do. I'd just make the whole thing worse.
Are there any updates about the woman?
Being in the dark has me on edge. Information, any at all, may very well help me in calming down.
I've already briefed security about her, and more from the agency will be arriving tonight. But they haven't seen anyone fitting the description.
So you have nothing then? Fat lot of use you guys are. What do I even pay you for? Do me a favor. There's the door. Don't let it hit you on your way out.
Well, there is something. It's about McCulloch.
Can anyone blame me if I show the tiniest bit of interest? She's still not done with the house, and she's a nice enough woman. Plans to go back to sleep aren't known.
I called her secretary about taking the day off. He hasn't heard from her over the weekend.
She's probably passed out after enjoying a pint or 2 or 10 in a bar somewhere. She's an adult. It was the weekend. She's allowed to disappear and not think about work. Fuck. I wish I was passed out after a night of drinking. He does know that mobiles are a thing.
That's all well and good, but she's not answering her mobile either. Mr. Parker will be filling a missing persons case with the police if she doesn't turn up today.
And certainly someone must know where she is. Tabs are kept without fail on people who come to work with me. Background checks and constant surveillance until they finish their contracts with the rights. Some would say it's all a bit over the top, but I still can't be too safe. Too many want me dead.
What about one of ours? Has anyone seen her? She's pretty hard to miss with how tall the woman is.
The last anyone has seen of her was here, the morning of the party. Your housewarming party.
That isn't good news.
It wouldn't do for the police to hear of this and to suspect.
It's with little import that I can easily prove my innocence. It's a matter of principle. Because even the accusation of misdemeanor should not stain my reputation. Although maybe it is a bit too late to hope for a squeaky clean one. Besides, it would be such a hassle to have the police poking about the house, looking for a body that doesn't exist.
Now, if we're done here, I'd like to go back to sleep and...
Well, there goes any plans of grabbing some shut-eye. Rolling over on my stomach, I can only scream into my pillow.
Of course. Ugh.
Man, she's got good hearing.
Johans, distract her.
Oh, look, it's time for me to go. Have fun with your little play date. So long, farewell, and auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.
No, Johans, don't you turn away from me. Keep her busy for an hour. Come on!
I have to press my face against the pillow once more to suppress a groan. You just can't get loyal help anymore.
Hello there, little Fraulein. Your uncle is just upstairs and will be down in a moment. He is super excited to have you today. I hope you're well rested and ready to play a lot.
Traitor.
That bastard. I'll be down in a sec, Munchkin. Let me just...
Change into a fresh shirt, brush my teeth, fix my hair, bemoan my very existence. Wish I was anywhere else in the world right now. Don't get me wrong, Kylie's a great kid. Wonderful. Better than most brats her age. But handling a tyke is the last thing I want on my agenda now with this whole Hana business. Fortunately, I'm well versed in how the world works. I have long learned that the show must go on, no matter what hurdles come in my way. So I set to preparing for the day. Running a comb through my hair is just divine. It simply makes me feel more human. That hair is disgusting, though it isn't as bad now as it was when I was a child. With how expensive a trip to the barber's was, I often had to grow it out until Mother had time to cut it for me. The curls and tangles were simply horrid. Why, I was even mistaken as a little girl because of that, and it certainly doesn't help that I was called Lucille. A freshly pressed shirt is enough to chase away the last signs of sleepiness. The feel of crisp and clean cloth in my hands is a clear marker to the start of the day. Smoothing down my suit and my hair with a sigh, I steel myself for the horrors. The horrors that come with taking care of a child.
Good morning to you, Luke.
Speak of the devil, and she shall appear. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, Kylie grins up at me as soon as I open the bedroom door. She swings the backpack she's clutching, hitting my leg in a show of impatience and looking entirely unapologetic for it.
Did you just wake up? Don't tell me you forgot. It's our playdate today.
I doubt I'd forget. Kylie's visits are frequent enough things that they found a way into my schedule. They're supposed to be visits to her godmother, but we can't pick who a child gets along with. So long as I'm not busy, her father can drop her off for the day, which is all well and good for me if it makes Suarez focus on the work that I've given him. Besides, she's a bright child. Tolerable. Kid's got a good head on her shoulders and can get pretty mature for her age at times. Of course, they have me to thank for that. Our parents can take partial credit, but Hana and I have been there for this kid since she was just a small babe. Why, I can still remember the first time I saw her. It was during her baptism. The only reason I was there was to accompany Hana, who was to be named godmother. She was such a tiny thing, not even a year old, and swaddled in her mother's arm and wiped her off. It was the first time I really saw an infant up close. Close enough to hold one, at least. It had been terrifying to be given that little child to carry after the whole water ceremony. I've never done so before that, to hold a tiny life in my arms. I could have just dropped her on her head and this little tyke before me would have stopped existing then and there. But the child just smiled at me, babbling nonsensical words as children do, and clinging to me even as I try and hand her off to Hana. She had thought it was hilarious and adorable. My suit had been a mess, and I was nearly an anxious wreck by the time I handed her back to her mother. But it was pleasant, too.
Of course I didn't, you little rugrat. I just had to take care of something before you arrived.
Really? Well, I guess that's fine. As long as you told me for work like last time.
Really? Now why don't we go back down and have breakfast in the parlor?
I already ate at home. Papa made one of his tortillas de patatas. He wouldn't let me leave until I finished every bite.
Oh my god, she calls people Tio, and yet she still says tortilla. Oh no. Ah, the Suarez infamous tortilla de patatas. Those things are a hazard. You can probably use one to bludgeon someone into submission with just how huge they are. It's a miracle Kylie can still be so energetic. I had trouble staying awake the first time I had one. Speaking of staying awake...
Well, I need some coffee in me at the very least. But if you'd like, you can jump straight to dessert.
Yes! Dessert, please!
It's easy enough to manage Kylie with a promise of sweets, thankfully. The hard part is managing her before she gets the sweets, because I nearly have a heart attack when the kid races down the stairs. Just the thought of her slipping and breaking her neck is enough to make me rush down after her.
Slow down, the food isn't going anywhere.
The food is going somewhere. In my tummy.
Jesus fucking Christ. Children.
With a shake of my head, I ushered Kylie towards the parlor and order a maid to bring food for us. Whatever breakfast there is, along with a cup of coffee for me and an ice cream for Kylie. But I can't leave the kid alone for too long unless I want her to turn the other room into a slaughter ground? A mess. True to my expectations, I've only left Kylie alone for a few minutes, but she's already made herself comfortable. The stuff from her backpack has been left scattered across the room, from coloring books and crayons to toys. She's well equipped to amuse herself with no trouble, though I can certainly breathe a little easier that she won't bring her doll along with her every time she visits. Narcissa, or Sissa, is a creepy little bugger. Doesn't help when Kylie left her during one. Finding the thing at the bottom of the stairs staring up at me at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning is a memory that won't be leaving me anytime soon. Even now it stares at me from where it's seated, and I'm wholly tempted to just throw the thing into the fireplace and banish it from whence it came. I can buy her a prettier doll, a better toy. I'll break it. Find a way to get rid of it if it wasn't for Hana, and if only Kylie wasn't so attached to it. The thing is some antique doll she found for the brat's 6th birthday, one of a kind. My darling Hana loves her so, and Kylie does try to be a good goddaughter, but she just can't keep her interest long with the life. It's not something that Hana does wrong on her part, she does try so very, very hard, it's just that she doesn't quite know how to really handle children. She'd never been around other children when she was young, surrounded by protective adults who catered to her every whim and worried for her safety every minute. When she isn't able to keep up with Kylie, her first instinct is to be strict. Impose rules on the child, treat her as if she's made of spun glass, like every moment might break her. I, at least, have some idea from running around street kids. I know the games they've played and how they think. I know that it could be scrapes, but we'll say scraps like fights and skin knees are all part of childhood. Even with how I grew up, I had time to be a child and not some sheltered heiress. With Kylie, as behaved as she can be with her toys and her books and arts, she still has to use up all of her energy somehow. To run around the playground and make a mess in the mud, or even just fake wrestle for a short while. Let her be a child when she wants, I say. If it becomes too much, just bribe her with sweets or ship her back to her papa. Problem solved. Unfortunately, Hana isn't quite up for those things most of the time, thinking it would spoil the child. So it turns a whole playdate awkward every time. Taking the last seat left, I pluck one of her coloring books from the table to see it filled with dinosaurs. Not exactly what I expect to see for a little girl, but it doesn't hurt anyone. If she wants to play with dolls and cars, or dolls with their cars, what do I care? Once she puts on dolls tutus on... she wants to put dolls tutus on model cars, even.
Oh, this is a new one. The last one you had was filled with horses, wasn't it?
Just remembering that kind of stuff is good for hanging out with kids.
Those were ponies, Tio. They're much cuter than horses. We went to a dinosaur zoo, and it was awesome! Very...
Yeah, so Jurassic Park's a thing in this universe, apparently. I'm just kidding.
Dinosaurs are my favorite.
I have no idea what that is, but it must be something. I'm only familiar with the T-Rex myself.
Yeah, they found, fossils of its claws. They're really long. They think the whole theory might be a bazillion meters tall, even bigger than a T-Rex.
A bazillion meters, oh no.
Cisa says it'll be big enough to eat all of my classmates.
Oh god, I hope the doll doesn't actually talk to her. She only laughs as I scrunch up my nose and
Takako
grimace.
says you're making a really funny face.
Yep, Takako, the ghost.
Taka who?
Taka who?
Takako, a friend I made.
Yes. I have to stop and look around, expecting one of the help to be there. The child does have a way of befriending just about anyone as long as she puts her mind to it. Yet the two of us are completely alone. Thankfully, she only finds my disturbed look rather... another as a... look. Take a drink here. Stop running over my words. Hi. How you doing? Thankfully, she only finds my disturbed look as another funny grown-up expression. That might be a bit more problematic, whether she plays with dolls or cars, though. Both the thoughts of Cisa giving Kylie ideas, and one of said ideas being massacre by dinosaur. Something I probably need to bring up with her father aside from work. But beyond murderous dinosaurs, creepy dolls, and imaginary friends, I find no trouble with Kylie. She's as energetic and precocious as any tyke her age can be. She's an angel, if she can get comfy and settled in after getting her sweets. We tuck into our waffles as soon as food is brought in. Holy crap, those waffles have ice cream on them. That's a great idea. Our waffles, because she wanted her own plate to go with the ice cream as soon as she saw mine. A fresh plate of berries is brought in as well, which goes really great with the rest of this feast, as Kylie puts it. And if I indulge in the sweetness, I have a cup of black coffee to pair it off with. With our bellies full, Kylie grows content just scribbling on a scrap of paper and calmly chatting about her week. She talks of her older brother Rowan and their parents, and how they plan to go to Bloxland in Berkshire after the winter holidays. She talks of Miss Pink, and I have to shift my legs to become comfortable once more, a memory of my initial meeting with her still fresh on my mind. She talks of the sad man in the park and of her new friend who likes to play hide-and-seek when she's not sniffling in the loo. And finally, she finds nothing new to talk about. She goes back to her drawings. That'll change as soon as her stomach settles, of course. The calm before the storm. Because behaved as she is right now, I can feel the curiosity just radiating off of her. There's a restlessness buzzing under her skin and a question on the tip of her tongue, as they often are with children her age. But for now, I can take this piece with no complaint for however long it stays. I have fun with the crayons as well, at the child's insistence, even if I can't really draw. With Kylie using the black crayon, that leaves me with the blue one, and I absent-mindedly start to draw a puppy to the best of my abilities. It's as I attempt to give the doodle dogs another eye that Kylie breaks her silence.
Tio? Where did Tia go? I saw them leave when I got here. Tia didn't look so good.
I've been expecting a lot of different questions. Kid always has a whole bunch of them ready for me, but I can only sigh when she posed this particular one.
She's just going to the doctor's for a checkup.
As kids go, there are follow-up questions.
And you didn't go with her?
Well, you were going to be here, sweetie, so I had to stay behind.
So she's all alone? At the hospital?
Oh, no, of course not. Tia has Johans and her maid and a guard. She's got plenty of company.
Yeah, but you're not with her.
She is not wrong. If I didn't know better, I'd say the kid's trying to make me feel guilty. Though I don't know if the bitter taste in my mouth is that, or something else entirely. I really don't have time to process what the emotion is as the brat opens her mouth again.
You should have gone with her to the hospital. Hospitals are scary, you know.
Oh yes, he knows.
Exactly why I didn't go. I don't like hospitals, Kylie. That's all there is to it.
No, but she's very angry at me.
Why would I be angry at her? It isn't her fault she got sick.
I heard you and Tia are fighting. I heard that you might not be together anymore.
I have to stop her there. Sure, it's easy for people to jump to conclusions and presume that we might be fighting, like Rochelle. But it's not common knowledge that things have actually gone sour, and to have her put it in terms that we might not be together anymore.
Oh, well, where did you hear this from?
I heard it from a nice maid lady.
Uh-oh. Well, that's not gonna sit well with Luke.
But that's still no excuse. Not when she's sick. She needs someone to hold her hand and bring her soup and make her drink medicine.
I'm livid that one of my employees might gossip, and to a child, of all people, who says such upsetting things to a child. But my anger dies out when Kylie starts to tear up. She holds it back in an effort not to seem so childish, I assume. Though I'm honestly confused as to why such news would upset her so.
Oh, no. Look, Kylie, there's no need to cry.
I'm not going to cry.
Are you sure? You've got no reason to cry. Even if Hana and I won't be together anymore, you can still visit me and I can still visit you.
That's not the problem. Why don't you and Tia love each other anymore?
Wow. She is actually super precocious.
I still love her, Munchkin, and I'd like to think your Tia still does too.
Isn't that the truth? I love her. I'm just total shite at showing it. And a small part of me screams that I was not worthy to be her husband in the first place. In another time, in another place, another me, I would have confessed that the whole world is nothing compared to her.
So why are you two fighting? You grown-ups are so stupid sometimes.
She's not wrong. Why? Because I'm a prat, probably. Motioning for her to come closer, I wrap my arms around and rub her back in an attempt to comfort the child. Only when I feel her tears soak into my jacket that I realize that there might be something else to her worries. I've heard Suarez is not getting along too well with his wife, as of late, because of how busy he is with work. Really, I was wholly tempted to just brush her question off and say it's a grown-up thing. I could content myself in pretending that this isn't all happening. But it seems like she needs to hear this. It just makes it all the more painful to try and explain this, because I have to explain it not only for Kylie, but also for myself.
Sometimes, people fall out of love, or they think they've fallen out of love and need time apart. It's not necessarily a bad thing. They might be angry at each other, or they might feel sad. They need time for themselves to think about each other, to know if there is still love. Maybe they'll be back together again, or maybe it's better for both of them to move on.
See, occasionally Luke says something that's not complete and utter awfulness. Occasionally.
Instead of staying together and hurting each other, pretending they still love each other.
There's nothing final, but here we are, at a crossroads where the wrong step might end in heartbreak. Hana thinks we need some time apart, but we aren't done just yet.
But yes, grown-ups can be rather stupid.
You're still gonna be my friend, no matter what, Teal?
Of course, my life would be less exciting without a little brat like you running around and making a mess of it. And you better stay my friend, even when I get all old and wrinkly.
Kylie's shoulders shakes in laughter as she pulls away and gives me a toothy grin.
You're already old! But don't worry. When you die, I'll burn you and put you in a jar so I can keep you forever! Just like they did with Abuelo!
That's a bad thing to say to Luke, whose mother was cremated. My thoughts come to a grinding halt at her words, and yet she goes on as if she hasn't just said such an odd thing. Why, it almost seems like the tyke is looking forward to my funeral. As if there was no confused expression on my face, she pulls me back to our drawings, commenting on the state of my weird dog.
I think your puppy would look better magenta.
Magenta it is. I don't think I can spend any more time with Kylie, considering how high-strung I feel. So it's a good thing that Suarez came for her as soon as I called. Though it is earlier than the agreed-upon time, he voices no complaint. The bastard even has a look of relief as soon as they left. Or at least I interpreted it as such, from where I've stood by one of the windows, not bothering to step out and greet the man. Such a dick. Luke is such a dick. No doubt he still doesn't trust me around his spawn. Well, he has every right to be suspicious of me. I'm a dangerous man, after all. But to my chagrin, that leaves me with the rest of the day with nothing to do. Well, aside from picking up the mess that Kylie left scattered about in the parlor. To my immense relief, she remembered to take her doll home with her this time. But the same cannot be said of the crayons and papers littered here and there. First things first. I snatch my own doodle off the table and rip it to shreds, leaving no hope that it will see the light of day. The rest of the drawings, all Kylie's, remain unharmed as I collect the lot. Though they've been stacked neatly on the table before, they must have blown about when I saw Kylie off. And there are plenty of them. From cats and cakes to colorful rainbows and gardens, the child managed to make a lot of her morning here. There's one that I have to fish out of the fireplace where it landed. Expecting to see another Kylie masterpiece, I'm instead greeted with something a bit more concerning. There's me. And there's Kylie, the two of us, standing side by side and smiling as our stick figure selves stand in a nondescript field. Not much I can ascertain without looking at the labels below the doodle's feet. But the third figure stands next to me in the drawing, a woman with her face hidden behind a curtain of black. Takako, the writing under her supplies.
Takako says you're making a really funny face.
Taka who?
Takako, a friend I made.
Creepy. So you think this thing wants to kill Hana, or do you think that it wants to possess her? The hairs on the back of my neck stand on end, and I can feel a chill go down my spine. A breath. That isn't mine. That has me turning around, expecting, hoping to see anyone. But nothing. And that's when I hear it. Laughter. Sweet and merry laughter ringing from the ballroom. Thinking about it has my cheeks burning and my blood running hot. It's as if I'm being mocked. As I stalk toward the door, I have to stop myself from shouting up a storm. I expect to see some of the help dallying about, idle from their duties. Perhaps they thought they could slack off in their duties without the head butler around, and with my preoccupation with Kylie. Well, they have another thing coming. But again, nothing. Nothing from what I can see with a cursory glance, at the very least. I roam around, looking for near impossible hiding places, and still I'm all alone. Yet I can still hear the laughter, that accursed laughter, echoing around the room and in my head.
Who's there? Show yourselves and show some respect to the master of the house!
Cold uneasiness settles into my stomach when no one answers. I stumble on my own 2 feet, feeling a wave of nausea come from nowhere. I have to put a hand against the wall to stay upright when the world shifts and pain explodes from behind my eyes. It takes every ounce of self-control not to heave then and there. The only thing my pride allowed me to do then is to close my eyes in an attempt to alleviate some of the pain. Vague, unfamiliar images, dare I say memories not mine, flash in my head, unbidden and unwelcome. Like a strong hammer strike to the head, threatening to crack my skull and split it in two. Whatever emotions they hold are muted. I'm nothing but a spectator. Still, its weight feels palpable. It doesn't take long for these sensations to go into my head. In my eyes and my ears, it creeps and buzzes in the spaces in between. It feels like it's seizing in my chest, like it's being squeezed and the pressure won't stop until it bursts.
Are you truly storming off over some hearsay? Be sensible!
What you did, it is... There are no words. You bring disgrace to this family. This rotten noble standing in front of me is not the cousin I grew up with. This is not the lady I fell in love with. She would never do such unspeakable things, Charlotte!
I bring disgrace. I bring disgrace. I am not the idiot who's running off in the middle of the night. You promised, Edward. You gave me your word. Don't you dare turn your back on me. I swear to you, if you step 1 foot out of these lands, mark my words, Edward, I will.
What? What is it you swear? Will your men steal me away? Defile me too, like what you did to yourself?
I wonder what she did. There's an undercurrent of fear. I'm in danger, my head screams at me. And there's hurt, a deep, burning shame that I can feel on the woman's behalf. Looking at her, on its own, is a chore I cannot bear. Ah, these are the memory fragments. Whispers and accusations fill every crevice of my head, ringing and echoing around like a terrible case of tinnitus. They stare, gazes filled with such judgment and disgust, even before their beloved lady has spoken. She's already condemned.
This horrid woman! I beg the court for justice! Who knows what this devil's bride is capable of? She has already bewitched my love, my betrothed. I just cannot bear to think of what she has done to him after. Or what else she may do to our people if we let her live. Blood taints this woman's hands, and I deserve to be repaid in kind for that which she has taken from me.
And there's nothing for her but death. And she knows this. Her silence says as much. One after another, they come at me, an unending flood that threatens to sweep me away for what feels like an eternity. Each one a show of both joy and suffering for those who have called this mansion home. Each new scene is like a hammer to the head, threatening to crack my skull and split it in two. I can feel every little emotion in the blurry images that present itself in my head. I feel a part of these, like I've lived through them, though I know that's not possible. All of their anger burns through me, that much is evident, but the pain more so. And above all of it, there are whispers, voices calling, luring until one image emerges in vivid contrast with the others. And there's a shout of joy. My eyes snap open, looking for the culprit. That's when the whole room just changes. Everything's the same, and yet everything isn't. There are people everywhere, laughing and dancing. I should be concerned about them, but my mind finds it easy to dismiss them as if they fade in and out of nothingness. Instead, I find my concentration drawn to a man and a woman, though one can only really call them a lord and a lady, going by their clothes. And oh, just see how happy the couple looks. though the man's eyes are eerily blank like he's not all there. His face is familiar, though. In fact, they both are. But I can't quite place why. The two make for a pretty picture as they dance in the center of the ballroom. Even the Phantom's crowd attention stays with them. It reminds me so much of Hana and I during the early days of our marriage, the honeymoon years they call it. We were happy then, too, all smiles and sunshine, even with the normal dreary weather. Younger, we had less to worry about, or at least thought that way. I wished we could go on that way, even with all I did and all I had to do. But life has a way of catching up, and there's work to be done. We had to say the loving, perfect couple in public. I couldn't afford to look so weak. To appear tied down to someone else, to those who really knew who I was. I had to harden my heart when I have business, and it hasn't always been easy to just switch that part of me on and off. I should be concerned about their intrusion, too, to ask what in the bloody hell they're doing in my house, throwing a party as if they own the place. I ask myself how the fuck I didn't notice that was going on before, when the parlor and the foyer are both only a few doors away. There's a horrid feeling of envy. And though I've long accepted that I'm a jealous person by nature, I've never felt such a strong feeling of envy as I have now. They were happy with each other, these people, but Hana and I... Envy turns to anger. Anger for something I couldn't have. But I have the feeling that yelling and screaming at them won't do much of anything anyway. None of the others have even noticed me. I realize that this might not even be real. And it dawns on me that these are the two people from the paintings, the ones all over the mansion. Which makes sense. I don't think I'm imaginative enough to make all this up on my own. This must be a dream. Or a really horrible high. And just then I can feel eyes on me as I contemplate the absurdity of the situation, yet I find difficulty in trying to tear my eyes away from the two dancing. Or manage. And I regret looking away. The woman from the gardens stands beside me. I can hear her rattling breath, menacing and chilling. Everything in me screams to run, but something pins me to the spot just as she looks at me, watching and waiting. The clamor of their voices fill the ballroom. Although they say such welcoming words, I do not feel comforted by the madness I'm experiencing. Their joyous voices turn sinister and foreboding to my ears. The chorus of people that shouldn't exist, threaten to overwhelm me, to drown me even as I stand on dry land. The music still plays as the Phantom Quartet continues while I stand there, vulnerable and afraid. But the dance has already ended. And I'm afraid that I might just be tonight's entertainment. Tension is all well and good until bollocks like this go down. These Phantom people watch me, thousands of eyes scrutinizing, while they cheer for my return, cajole me to dance and join in the merriment. There are eager hands all over, pulling at me in every direction, but they don't move me enough to remove me from the woman's gaze.
Listen. Can you not hear them as they welcome you home? Your kind, our kind. You're one of us, my love. We are bonded by the blood we share.
If I thought the voices were overwhelming before, it's nothing compared to how they are now. Their voices are loud, speaking in unison and echoing ever on in the spaces of my head. They welcome me back as if I've always belonged, as if I was meant to be here in the first place. They call me all these titles and names that don't belong to me. And that man's face, the one with the empty eyes, flashes again before me. Once. Fleeting. Like a new memory having burned itself in my mind. I have to struggle for air when I come back to myself later.
This isn't...
The welcomes turn into screams at my protest, pained and desperate pleas for my help, telling me that it's my duty to stay. Telling me that I belong among them. To them. Gentle touches turn near threatening. Warning scratches and the baring of teeth by the predators before they truly maim someone. My mouth goes dry as I struggle to speak out some sense to this hallucinatory madness. I don't get the chance as they drown out my voice.
Our lord, my prince.
At her words, there's a compulsion to stay. Though my heart races in my chest, the fear I should be experiencing refuses to register in my head. Mind and body war with each other, nearly tearing me in two. Oh, you finally returned to us. The compulsion to walk into her arms is strong and whispers in my head, tell me to go to her. They say that she is safety. She is home in heart. We've been waiting for so long. But repulsed at these thoughts, I wrench away and turn with a small gasp. Without hesitation, I start to make a run for it, and I nearly falter when an angry shriek pierces the air, inhumane and monstrous. I don't dare look back. I just run. I didn't care if this was a drug-induced hallucination or not. Just run! Out of the ballroom. And out of the parlor. It's only then that I bother to look back, hoping and praying to the God I scorn that it did not pursue me. I would have run all the way out of the mansion, too, if only someone didn't get in my way. I collide with a body much larger than mine and fall back to the ground, head spinning as I look up at the stained glass. Turning my head to the side replaces the colorful sight with a pair of shiny black shoes. Fatigue fills every inch of my being then, making me refuse to get up. Meanwhile, a familiar head of ginger hair looks down at me in bemusement.
You really must look where you're going if you insist on running about. Do tell, where is the fire?
Oh, thank God you're here.
I do hope you don't have a concussion. Can you count backwards from 15 to 1 for me?
Oh, fuck off, you wanker. Just help me up.
That's apparently the correct answer for Luke.
I do not think insulting me if you do have a concussion is a smart decision. But no, really. 15 to 1.
That woman, she was here. I told you to keep an eye out for her.
The other man offers an arm and pulls me up to my feet then. But before I can storm off and pull him to the ballroom, he anchors me down with one hand on my shoulder and the other touching the back of my head.
No bruising or bump. That still does not mean that you don't have a concussion. If you are too lazy to count backwards, can you tell me your full name? Where are you currently?
We don't have Lucille Mitchell Wright, and this is the Ermengarde bloody fucking foyer. But we don't have time for this.
You must make and have the time to make sure you are not broken in the head. I have already sent security to scour the whole house when I saw you running out of the parlor, Dummkopf. If the woman is here, they will have her. You will only be slowing them down if you plan to interfere.
When he points that out, I realize that there are guards starting to filter into the house, as we speak with some already searching the nearby rooms. Armed and uniformed men go about in pairs, making it so that the house is a flurry of activity. He lets go of me then, with the knowledge that I'm not going to keel over anytime soon.
I was hoping that you would be tired from dealing with the young miss on my return. Instead, you come running and hit your head. Such a troublesome boy. Shall I be carrying you to bed, too?
I can manage just fine on my own. Though I don't see how I can sleep until that woman is caught.
It'll be easier to keep you safe in your quarters. This is twice we've known the woman to break in. I think we can safely presume that you hold her interest.
He says it in a matter of fact, in a tone that will brook no argument. Not like I'll argue it if it means that I'm going to be kept safe. Two of us hurry upstairs, though we remain watchful and wary of any potential threats to my person. We make it to the master bedroom without any trouble, and the two security are left outside the door. No problems at all. Not until we get inside. Johan's eyes scan the room wildly, a look of dread on his usually stoic face, and I don't understand for a moment. Looking around the bedroom, it's empty. But then I realize...
Where's Hana? She came home with you from the hospital, didn't she?
She's supposed to be here. I sent one of the maids to accompany her here, to let her rest.
I feel the color drain from my face when he raises a hand to stop me from charging out there.
Stay.
I'm not staying in here while Hana stays out there.
One of the guards will find her and bring her here.
And what if they don't? What if that woman gets to her first? What if she already has her?
That's not possible.
You can't promise that.
There's no second thought as I reach under my side of the bed and pull out one of my knives. I have no doubt that the other man can take me on if we're both unarmed. But with this, I can even the field, or at least deter him from escalating the situation and risking hurting either of us.
I'm going out there to look for Hana, and you're either with me or you aren't. I'm not risking Hana, and I'm not leaving her alone.
Still, like a stubborn mule, he refuses to budge from the door. There's a withering look on him that I try and match. One that somehow I'm losing fast to, even with him not saying a word
Can you
yet.
see yourself in the mirror right now? You are in no proper state to go looking for anyone. If it'll make you happy, I will do the looking. But please, and don't make me repeat this, stay where it's safe, where security can find you. We already have one person to be worried about. Please don't add another one to it.
Alright, just a moment, you guys. Got a nice Coke to wet my whistle. Perhaps it's his tone. In spite of his general disdain for virtually everything that has to do with me, I'd like to think that over the years he's grown to care for Hana at least. Much as I loathe to admit this, I'd trust him with her safety over any servant in this house. So, an acquiescence.
You have 2 hours, Shirokin. I don't think it'll take that long to find one missing woman in this house. 2 hours. Any more than that, and I'm going out there.
Of course.
Despite his words, he lingers. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he wants to make sure I get in that damn bed and sleep before he turns away from me. What am I, a child, watching me and treating me like one? There's the reason why we'll never get along.
Well, what are you waiting for?
And the knife?
The knife stays.
Very well.
Only then does he seem to get the hint. And with a nod, he leaves, locks and closes the door behind him. For a moment, I still hear his voice while he gives the guards outside him firm instructions, and then a hush as he departs and his footsteps fade away. One that doesn't quite last. As quickly as the silence settles, lightning flashes across the sky, followed immediately by the loud boom of thunder. And that wanker strikes me so dangerously close that I can feel the electricity in the air. The power goes out not a second later, and I feel as if I'm being mocked by whatever greater power there is. All is deathly still for a moment, but soon the rain starts once again. Far heavier than the light drizzle from this morning, its pitter-patter hitting hard against the place's roof. Despite the noise, I find myself drawn to the bed, exhausted and hoping for a little nap. I'm safe here. Hana will be safe too. Shrocken will find her when I wake, and she'll be there. It does not take long. Once my head hits the pillow, in a matter of minutes, darkness claims me, bringing with it laughter and whispers of a twisted love from a time long gone.
Who are you? Stay away!
Sweet dreams, my love. It will be over soon. Yet in spite of the unfamiliar voices and unwanted touches from the shadows lurking in the dark, rousing is a slow, arduous process. Difficult in every limb heavy with lead. No matter my aversion to the words they murmur in my ears or the sight of the horrid smile from afar, my body refuses to yield. I am at their mercy. Beyond fathomable reason, my consciousness refuses the pull of the waking world, choosing to linger in the pits of a dream, gradually drawing me deeper into unknown depths. Somehow, even if it might mean I may never open my eyes, I allow it.
You do not belong there, my prince.
Not that I mind getting a few extra hours, of course. The bed's more than comfortable as it is. After an exhausting day yesterday, babysitting Kylie and the stress of finding an intruder in my own home, I think I deserve a little break every once in a while, especially after going through all that in a single day. I can only be on the receiving end of so many unacceptable things within the span of a few hours, you know? As gracious a host in person as I am, my patience has its limits too. Although there's still that problem with Hana, I haven't forgotten that, of course. That's why I hired Shrocken. He's competent enough. He won't even last a day in my service if he's any lesser than those halflings who think they can deceive me with sweet words. He's more than capable of working on his own without guidance. Let the butler take care of that little problem with Hana while I... Hana.
You do not need her. I am here. We are here. This is where your home is.
Where you belong for the blood we share. Come back to us. How long has it been since? Johan's never taken this long
Surely
before.
there should have been an update by now, right?
So why isn't there?
Please don't go.
Bloody hell, the cretins I've surrounded myself with.
And isn't that enough reason to force myself out of bed? And this has always been the case. My eyes fly open, expecting the warm rays of sunshine filtering through the curtains, only to be greeted by a flash of light and a loud boom of thunder that surrounded nearly too close to my ears. Strong gusts of wind will occasionally burst in from the open balcony door, bringing in drizzles of cold rain. I must have left it open earlier before dozing off. The carpet and the floor closest to it is already drenched. Hana's going to be so cross once she sees this. Not that it's an immediate problem. If anything, this power outage, it's this power outage we should be minding first. With the intruder still at large, steering through this darkness might be far more fatal than multiple stab wounds or a gunshot to the chest.
Oh, great. The power's still out. That is exactly what I need right now. Yes.
It's this storm, of course. I should have moved back to the penthouse to weather it in a much more comfortable setting. Already I can hear the creak and groans of this old place as rain beats against the windows.
Johans! Has someone been sent to check the circuit breaker yet?
No answer.
Johans?
Silence.
Shrokin! Someone! Anyone?
Still nothing, and my cordial mood is quickly dissipating.
Where are those idiots when you need them?
It's really a wonder why he hasn't fixed this yet. Was I out that long? I can't be. It's only been a few hours. It's only a few hours after midnight. The time on my wristwatch is anything to go by. Unless I've forgotten to change it again after that last overseas trip a month ago. The delay is understandable if he went looking for Hana as he promised. But bloody hell, my safety's also at stake here. Cursing, I stay still, letting my eyes try and adjust to the darkness while my hands fumble for my slippers. If that butler isn't going to fix this, I may as well order security posted to the outside of it. And it's probably just a blown fuse. Anyone with a brain can repair one. Grabbing my jacket, and with footwear finally on, I make for the door. Although in haste, I pause briefly when a gleam catches my eye. On one of my drawers, underneath the clutter I've yet to organize, the muzzle of a gun beaks out. Hana has never openly commented on my possession of it, but I know that she does not approve of it, knowing the bloody firearms policy in this nation. Of course, I've not found much use for it in the last 7 years we've been together. Otherwise, she would have already thrown it out years ago. Doesn't mean it won't be useful right now. Without second thought, I seize it, sending the stuff piled above it onto the floor. Eh? Whatever. I'll get to it later. This blackout problem should be resolved first. Right next to my missing security detail, as it turns out.
Where the fuck did everyone go?
There were two, weren't there? Shrokin had said Shrokin had two blokes posted to stand guard for the night. I might be panicking for a bit earlier, but I'm quite sure I haven't gotten delusional yet. What? Did both of them decide to take a break? Because they think the master's already sound asleep and won't be looking for them?
Damn nitwits.
I know assassinations happen very rarely these days, and even less in a peaceful city like Luxembourg, but bollocks! There's been a woman going in and out of this place, uninvited, who may or may not have wanted to put a knife in my back. Isn't that enough reason to stay on alert? I'm fairly certain Shrokin won't just enlist their help just for this power outage, only to leave me unprotected. We have a difficult friendship, so to speak, but I doubt that man is an opportunist. I'm holding the lives of his family in my hands, after all. He knows what I'm capable of doing, and he's not stupid enough to do anything that'll endanger them and only save himself. So where then? Only my footsteps echo along dark passages, and I'm left gripping the handle of my pistol for some sort of comfort. Without proper lighting, and with this storm still raging outside, the stories I've heard about this place seem to have some truth to it. Some. If I'm reaching and wish to entertain myself for a bit, I'll say that there might also be ghosts whispering in my ears, calling. Of course, it's just the wind and the trees rustling outside. Nothing good would come from allowing these thoughts to linger when problems are piling up in front of me one after another. Especially with what greets me once I get to the foyer. Though it's dark, the large windows illuminate the area much more easily than any of the other rooms. And from where I stand at the top of the stairs, I can easily make out their forms, recognize them even. It's all gone crazy when these intruders come into my house. I'm no stranger to a cop playing dirty. The smart ones know that neither life nor criminals are going to play fair. And if one of this wog's sort is in on this, I'm not surprised, too. But Lily, the estate agent? She doesn't seem the sort. And Daisy, too? What will Kylie think of her Miss Pink? Think of her Miss Pink when the poor tyke finds out about this. And to top it all off, they have the nerve to look surprised when I announce my presence.
Well, well, what have we here? If I were any less sober, I'd say this is the beginning of a joke.
Bloody trespassers. What's wrong with these people? Did they really think I would be fine with them walking into my home like this? What are they even doing here? I didn't know any better. They might also be behind Hana's disappearance.
That's right, my love.
They must have a motive.
Make them pay
And it better be a good one.
for all the wrong made to us.
Or a bullet to the head is the least all of them will deserve.
Let's see. A photographer, a high school teacher, and a real estate agent walk into a mansion.
Thunder crackles again, cutting me off. This time, its sound hits close enough that it nearly feels as if the windows and the ground itself are rumbling. All is deathly still for a moment. I don't let it stop me, however, as I slowly make my way toward them, taking one careful step at a time and relishing the expression of fear in their eyes. I suppose there's something ominous in this setting, with the heavy rain outside and the lack of light here. I kind of like it, to be honest. It adds something to the atmosphere. I suppose I must look like the villain now. But short of me getting close to them, a noise to my left distracts me, briefly halting my movements, while curiosity takes over every murmur in my head. And it's a good thing, perhaps, that I did, because as soon as I look up, I see him. Another trespasser. Great. Just as he's about to jump down from furniture that somehow ended up piled and blocking the door to the parlor. What happened there? And did he really think it's all right to do that in other people's houses? Lout.
My lord, put him in his place.
My hand's already moving before any rationale can stop me, fingers firm at my gun when I finally release the safety from it and take aim. Not at him, but his friends. They are his, aren't they? Why else would they be here together? Doesn't matter, he won't let the people he cares about be harmed. My finger on the trigger's more than itching to shoot, but I hold back. Sure, I could have simply taken aim at him, but more than seeing him bleed, I want to see the expression on his face once he realizes everything he's doing is futile. He's trapped. Lives are in my hand. His life's in my hand.
Had I known there would be a party in my own home tonight, I would have opened a bloody bottle or two. People these days, in my own home. Can you believe it? I feel so left out.
I can tell the exact moment the realization dawns on him. A short second of his body freezing and blood draining from his face. As soon as his feet hit the floor, and he looks up. He's already a prey, trapped by his own recklessness.
Pathetic.
And really, Daisy, even you, what would Kylie say?
Luke, this isn't what you're thinking. You have to listen to us. There's something going on here.
Well, obviously, why else would people be trespassing in my home? What about little Lily over there, then? What's your excuse? Checking back if your clients are doing okay? Is that it? Is this what this is?
We're doing good, by the way.
Sir, please.
Oh, please, what?
Becca's right, sir. We need to get out of this place. You need to leave.
Tut, not a good enough excuse, darling. You people are the ones who need to get out of my sight. Don't worry, I might consider pressing lighter charges for the woman. Can't say the same for the rest of you. But really now, I swear the people of this city need to be taught the meaning of privacy. This is how you want to start the week. Why don't we just go with a bloody massacre if we want to surprise people in their homes, huh?
It's just a passing remark, of course. I'm not stupid enough to do something that'll bring negative attention to myself. Reputation and all that, I can't just risk it. The thought of having dead bodies here, ones that I'm not even responsible for, they're the ones who trespassed. It's already quite too much. It'll literally be overkill, especially for someone like me. Nevertheless, joke or not, Feathers wastes no time drawing his own gun at the sight of my own. Even if he already knows it's too late. Still, he glares at me. Still, he fights back.
Now, Feathers. Manners. You're in no position to be pointing that gun at people.
There's no desperation in him like I'm hoping, just an annoyance flickering shortly before being hidden underneath a challenge. The likes of him are the kind of people I hate the most. Even with their failures already glaring down at them, mocking every worthless move they make, they have the impudence to stare people in the eye.
Why don't you put yours down first, and then we'll talk about manners.
Oh, he talks back. The gall! You know, your kind pisses me off so much.
Annoying most of the time. Like a damn pest you can't be rid of. But to some degree it is. Commendable. I'll give him that. After all, we're almost the same in that regard. Almost. I'm still the better person, of course. He tells me to put the gun down, but I see no reason why I should. I'm a homeowner, in defense of my own home. I have the right to, I'd like to think. Questionable permit of firearms aside. It's not like I wanted this, but I'm already high-strung and their presence does not help. Bloody peasants. I can never seem to figure out how their minds work. And also, I should have expected he wouldn't let this end in some sort of a standstill.
Sorry about this. I really don't have time for you.
A short lapse. That's all it is. One moment of letting my guard down. Before I can react, he fires 2 shots in quick succession. A sound crackling through the empty foyer, almost as loud as the storm raging outside, breaking the tense air of the room. Pain explodes in my wrist not 2 seconds later. Just a graze, however, it's enough to cause my fingers to tense and the pistol slides to the floor with a thud.
Why, you insolent!
The next moments happen in a blur. In the following second, I'm being tackled bodily to the ground, back hitting the cold floor, hard, and an arm pinning me down by the neck. There's a fleeting minute of panic and struggle while I try and untangle myself from him before he manages to knock me out. And then... a scream. A wail piercing through the thick air, shrill and sharp enough for the both of us to cover our ears and hunker down on our knees. And with each sharp note beating harshly against my head, there are the images again. Faces and voices so utterly unfamiliar, seeping into every crevice, turning sinister with each shift. They're not mine, but they might as well be with how vivid and crisp they appear. Over and over, they all flash behind my eyes until it becomes unbearable. Pounding, throbbing, thudding against my skull, worse than any headache a hangover can give. Bloody, I'll take a hangover this any day. A haze begins to fill my vision as black spots dance around the corners of my eyes. Beside me, the detective suddenly moves, shouting a name I don't quite hear, and then...
Ash!
The next second he falls, down on one knee, desperately trying to keep himself up with what strength he has left. But eventually his own body caves in, taking the horrified Wog down with him, muttering quietly to him as something distinctly red flows from his body. Blood. This man isn't supposed to be dead yet. He isn't supposed to. I didn't shoot him, I'm sure of it. So what killed him? What in bloody blazes is going on here? Is it so wrong to just want a quiet night where nothing needs attending to? Just one normal night? Quickly, everything's turned crazy with perilous happenings that are hard to explain. But it seems that, when it comes to me, death is always around the corner. I want to look him over. This is going to cause more problems. All this screaming and crying for a detective who's died for no apparent reason is giving me a migraine. I need to get all these people out of my house, one way or the other. But in the blurry mess of my vision, none of this registers enough to compel my body to move. Nothing does. Except for the voice unexpectedly ringing above the discord, and when I finally gather the strength to look up, everything falls away into the background. All that matters is her.
Luke, help me. Please. I told you, didn't I? Everything you're doing is useless, Ashton Frey.
Oh, so she is actually manipulating...
And now, you're dying. Meddlesome fool.
I've always been cautious and careful, cutting off trouble's head before things can escalate if I'm able. That's why I deal with the likes of Harvey and Suarez and Johan. For all who we are, for all the enemies the likes of us can make, such a thing has never happened before, because I do everything to make sure it doesn't happen. So to see Hana in danger, I don't quite know how to feel or what to do. Of all the times for there to be a hostage situation, if this even is one, why now? Good fucking God, what's going on here?
Help me. Please. Please make it stop.
I think death would be preferable if my sense of self-preservation was shot to high hell. It would deprive me of choice and of responsibility in the matter. And I don't want to think about how fast my heart beats, so that I'll hardly hear anything other than my own heartbeat and her pleading.
Please. They're in my head. Screaming. It hurts so much.
What do I do? What can one do against someone holding your life in their hands? With a woman that looks more monster than man. When her expression turns into one of amusement and her horrific laughter fills the air, I'm torn apart. This is my fault, isn't it? Hannah's in danger because of me. Everybody I love always ends up hurt, or worse. And even when I choose to let her go, she's no exception. Hannah's unbroken begging makes it all the much more painful, because I still love Hannah. I really do. Will I really endanger myself for a woman who might not love me back anymore? Still, something in me dies a little when that woman laughs as if this is all some kind of sick joke. Her smile taunts me, filling my head with laughter and rage until I can barely think over the cacophony in my head. And the way the woman looks at me, it's as if she's watching, waiting for my next move.
Please. Someone. Anyone. Help me.
This is crazy, and I don't know what I should do. I know for a fact that one shouldn't aggravate a hostage taker. There's no winning an argument with someone who holds a life easily taken. But I need to do something, right? My decision's taken from me, however.
Why are you doing this? And look at you, smiling like this is a funny joke. Don't you dare lay a hand on that woman. She didn't do anything to you to deserve this, did she?
To see the great black man like this is perhaps the most terrifying I've seen him. What little anger he's capable of feeling is clear on his face, lining his soft and kind features. He would certainly be a fright had the woman not possessed such a monstrous countenance that he can't rival. There's a tired look in the man's eyes, contrary to the rest of his heated look. Clearly, this is a man who is rarely angered and disliked being so. I have no doubts that it would take great effort for him to be anything other than pleasant. He's clearly aggravated, and he turns an accusatory glare at me.
Are you really just gonna stand there? Really? Come on, man, she's your wife!
Oh, what the bloody hell do you expect me to do?
Well, you're doing a whole lot of nothing. I expected more from you, at least. This ain't right!
And maybe doing nothing is the best course of action here. Have you ever thought about that? Maybe, just maybe, I need time to think. Did you even stop to think that confronting her might make things worse? This isn't some bloody action film where me charging in is going to save anyone. One stupid move from any of us, and Hana might be dead because of it!
He grits his teeth and has nothing to refute my point, and it's obvious he's not happy about how right I am. Frankly, I don't like it either. The woman doesn't look armed. That doesn't mean she's not dangerous. If anything, the fact that she's this confident, this unperturbed while being barehanded is a testament to itself. Either she's well prepared or she's just that crazy. And it's one thing to work with hostage takers and another thing entirely to work with the criminally insane. A hush settles over the room as she speaks up. Her voice is but a whisper and deathly slow, and I'm hard-pressed to hear it over the pounding of my heart in my ears. She speaks, the woman from the gardens, and the servant girl from the ballroom, from the hallucination, vision, memories, whatever they were.
Will you not speak up for her? Will you not try to save your beloved wife?
I cannot stop the heat from flooding in my cheeks, shame turning me red and making me grit my teeth in anger. That same anger sets a fire in me, burns through the fear, and spurs me on to call her out. Because pride.
Why? Will my words hold any sway? Who's to say you won't snap her neck the moment I take one step? Do you take me for an idiot?
I take you for a coward. Nothing but a spineless coward.
It seems she's found what she's looking for, and that she has no further use for Hana. A hand on Hana's back sends her falling down the stairs. She's nothing but a rag doll, thrown away because she's lost interest with her like a child with an old toy. I'm frozen in place, but Steel catches her, and that sends the two of them sprawling at the foot of the stairs. I have to stop myself from lashing out at how closely he holds Hana to him. It can easily be interpreted as a lover's embrace, and it doesn't help that I had the fleeting thought that she was cheating on me with him. But I let it go, as this is not the best time, even for my dramatics, because he did protect her from what could have easily been a dangerous fall. The anger and frustration from his expression bleeds out until he's all soft edges and a smile once more. He smiles up at Hana, one that doesn't look platonic to my eyes, and suppresses a groan.
Ugh! I was not expecting that. She didn't hurt you, did she, Hana?
And the way she smiles back at him makes me feel jealous, though I don't know who wouldn't be. Anyone would be lucky if Hana ever so much as looks their way like she does Steel right now. If this were any other situation, this would be the straw on the camel's back, where I'd wrench Hana off of him and make my fists do the talking.
Oh no, I'm fine, Zachary. And you? Are you alright? I wasn't too heavy, was I?
But if Hana doesn't wish to be with me anymore, perhaps she'll easily find happiness with someone else, even if that someone else is him. He helps her to her feet like a proper gentleman. I suppose he's fine enough if Hana would ever want him. I don't think anyone would ever truly be worthy of her, but if he's what she wants, who am I to say otherwise once it's all said and done?
Yeah, you're heavy. I'm a bit worried you would have crushed my ribs. But, I'm well padded.
Hana laughs, out of breath, and she smiles at me, though that disappears as quick as it had appeared. We aren't quite out of the woods yet, and she hasn't forgotten what I did. Or rather, what I failed to do. It's only fair, I suppose. I'm nothing but a coward in her eyes, a sorry excuse for a man who can't even muster the courage to protect her. And I nearly forget, for a moment, as I watch the two
You
of
do
them.
not deserve what you have.
Just hearing her voice triggers something in Hana, and she starts to tear up. Her face contorts into one of pain and fear. Zach is quick to place his hands on her face so that she looks at him, and him alone.
Hana, look here. You're all right. You've got me and him. Between the two of us, you'll be fine, yeah? We won't let you hurt her again.
He reassures her with a nod in my direction, and I still think he's far too soft. I don't know exactly what in bloody hell is going on, yet I can't find it in me to care, whoever these people are and whatever they're here for. This is not acceptable. For all I know, this is some dumb charade to get to me. All the times I've seen the woman before, it could have been an act to get to me, to get under my skin. And to think they dare hurt Hana. For all the fear that I had felt seeing her touch Hana, I can only think of her as an actress in grotesque makeup. My hand still shakes, the fear not having quite gone, but anger fills me as I look up at the woman with a sneer on my face.
How dare you! I don't care who you are, but how dare you touch Hana! I want you out of my house, out before I call the police and have you put away for the rest of your miserable life! And that goes for all of you!
I hold my ground, firm and strong with my declaration. But the nerve of her, she just laughs in my face. A terrible, dreadful laugh that makes me feel as if there's ants crawling on my skin and maggots squirming into my ears.
You are telling me to get out of your house. You threatened to lock me up.
She laughs and she laughs.
What's so funny? What are you laughing at? None of this is funny!
But she persists, and it feels almost like her voice is in my head.
Oh, no different. No different.
You're all the same. You can all suffer together.
And that's when everything turns to complete and utter shite. It's a slow thing, a whisper more than a bang as the darkness creeps into every corner of the room. The walls shudder and groan. Blood runs from the ceiling and crawls down the walls and stains the floor. It feels as if life itself is being sucked from the house slowly but surely. The beauty of the place is gone, with only the dead, decaying remains of a mansion left in its wake. I don't have to wonder if it's just the foyer that's become this nightmarish place. I can already hear it. Gone are the growling of thunder and the lashings of rain and wind against the foyer's hall windows. All of it's been replaced by a more grating sound. A cacophony of voices from nowhere and everywhere, echoing throughout the now horrid walls. The voice that neither belongs to us nor the people who live here.
What's going on?
All throughout the house, shouts of alarm and surprise ring out, a mirror to the horror creeping up in each of us. Who wouldn't be shocked? This is insane. Even Daisy, the feisty woman that she is, trembles at the sight of it, clinging desperately to Lily while Steele stands protectively in front of the two. I suppose it only makes sense for the man to take on that role when their friend is gone. Something to hold on to, when here seems to be no end in sight to this insanity. If anything, this only feels like the beginning of the end.
Help me! Oh my god! Please, somebody! Anybody! Who are you? Stay away!
No. Stay away. Stay away.
Mother of God, pray for us sinners.
I'm sorry.
Their screams fill the mansion. She laughs all the while, a harsh, agonizing sound that goes on for what feels like forever. Until there's nothing but silence, her horrid smile and the pale hands reaching out to me. Calling, beckoning, pleading. I'm terrified, I really am, like I should be. But I've never been one to stay truly afraid. I've long learned that fear will not give me anywhere. It's like we're getting close to a climate. Oh my god. We haven't saved in ages. Cowering in a corner doesn't keep me safe, and it won't keep me alive, not like rage does. I've learned to use this burning hate in me to survive. There's no difference now.
Stay away from me!
Why do you wish to leave? This is where you belong, my lord. Remember the blood we share? This is your home. Don't you remember? You promised to return, to stay. Together with me, with us, with people no different from you.
What is she talking about, Luke? What does she mean?
Don't listen to her, she lies. I promised no such thing to anyone. Hannah, you're the one who bought this house. How should I know what she's babbling about? I never even wanted to be here in the first place.
A terrible case of mistaken identity. That must be it. I'm quite sure of it. I don't know this woman, this monster. Why would I say that to someone like her? In my entire lifetime, I've only made and kept sincere promises to two people, Hannah Evans and Eleanor Chandler. No one else. The rest of those people who claim I've promised anything to them can go fuck themselves. Bloody hell, I may enjoy the company of women, but I'm not an idiot to start spouting such nonsense to anyone. A line must be drawn, especially if I'm to keep myself alive. Yet she still goes on, insists, making me appear a liar in front of these people.
Of course you still deny it. Have you truly forgotten? You haven't changed, I see. Still a deceiver.
She's lying!
You see, my love, nothing has changed.
Still no difference, you and I. Just like the rest of us. Just like every single soul in this putrid wreck. We've waited for so long. You can hear them, yes? Their pleas, their calls, their invitation. Come, my lord. The house seeks its master.
She, the monster, reaches out again. Her hands a gory, abhorrent sight, along with that smile spread across her face. My body's already moving on instinct, stumbling back one step at a time in a desperate bid to be away from her. Anything to put distance between me and this vile creature. No matter what she says, I'm nothing like her. I need to get out of this house. Out of this country, preferably. There's nothing for me here anymore. Not anymore. Nothing to keep me tied to this place. With Hana planning to leave me and Shrocken likely to be taken by this woman, there's nothing left to bind me to this wretched city. I can leave, I can...
Luke.
My foot steps on something, sending me sliding on my back and flat on the floor. Beside me, a paper, a familiar one, flutters down. It's this thing again, from the open house, though it feels less like a gimmick and more like a threat with recent events. It must have fallen from the detective in the commotion earlier, and with its owner having died a gruesome death, now it simply bears an equally grisly message for everyone in the room to see. Help me. Help me. Help me. Is that it? Is that what they've been telling us? Why everything in my life has gone to shite because of some stupid old letter? An invitation indeed, when I'm not willing to accept. Not any time. From the top of the stairs, the creature moves again, drawing my attention back to her. Her gait remains slow and awkward as she walks forward, its smile never leaving her. But I won't give her the chance. I'm not dying here. I certainly am not giving myself to a hideous creature like her either. Adrenaline kicks in, and despite panicked gasps and worried glances from Daisy's friends, I pay them no mind as I reach for the main door and... without warning, it slams open, revealing not the mansion grounds that I'm expecting. Before my mind can even comprehend what's happening, black tendrils have already coiled tightly around my limbs, dragging every person in the foyer into the room. None of us even get to scream when darkness completely envelops us upon the doors closing.
Understand where your place is now, my love. You belong here. Is it so difficult to grasp? We've been waiting.
There's a moment of panic when the feeling of tendrils around my limbs finally dissipates. As soon as my eyes adjust to the darkness of the room and I'm on my feet, I'm reaching for my knife and holding it out, watching, waiting for every movement. Using it as a way to put distance between me and these peasants. Who knows what they'll do now? We're all desperate to get out of this house, and there's only 5 of us in this room. 3 of them friends at that. I cannot trust these people not to turn on me. Bloody hell, even Hana's giving me the same looks as them now. I cannot trust anyone. Not anymore. Not after this. Despite the pleading looks, Lily shoots my way while they all huddle in the corner behind Steel. But I have to remind myself that even people like her are capable of doing the unpleasant. She's only human after all. It's never an excuse. Why, even Hana has her cunning, manipulative moments, though she does it much more subtly than I. Why else would Lily show us letter to us that day, if not to save herself? I guess that backfired on her now, and her friends are also stuck here. Still, I have every right to be livid. Everything that I've built has fallen apart, all because these people came into our lives.
All of you! This is all your fault! If I'm dying to this bloody case, I'm taking you all down with me!
Luke, please put that knife away. This isn't going to solve anything.
Hey now, Mr. Wright. I know the situation ain't good, but we have to calm down. We're all in the same boat here.
You shut your mouth! If it weren't for you, for this letter, for all of you, none of this would have happened!
Is your life all that matters to you? What about these people here? Don't they have the same problem? What about me, Luke? Do you even care?
Are you taking their side? You're also stuck in this nightmare, Hana! That creature is out to get us, and you're still defending these people!
I'm not defending anyone, Luke. I'm just trying to be reasonable when you're clearly not.
Oh, of course you're not. You're just the one who bought this bloody mansion to begin with. If I didn't know any better, you did this on purpose.
Why, no. Why would I ever do that? This was only meant to be an anniversary gift. For you. For us. For the family we're going to have.
Right, anniversary gift. Oh, here's your gift, darling. Oh, by the way, there's a curse included in that package. I hope that's all right. Are you really that eager to get rid of me, Hana? Because if that's what you've been meaning to do all this time, you might as well just put a knife in my back while I'm...
Suddenly, Steele steps up and slaps the knife away from my hand. Said knife slides uselessly under the table, out of my reach. Before my mind registers what's happening, a sharp blow explodes in the side of my head, sending me reeling backwards. Mighty Falcon Punch. He merely stands before me afterwards, without even batting an eye, glaring at me as if he just might rip my head off in this instant. Huh. He isn't such a weakling, I suppose. Still doesn't explain why he has to punch me. Did he forget whose house he's standing in right now? Punching me like that. The nerve of him. And Hana just stands there. Last I checked, she's still married to me.
There ain't no way to talk to a lady, sir.
Zachary, you didn't have to. Please, I'll talk to my husband.
Oh, why don't you let him say what he wants? Oh, do go on. Since that's what these peasants seem to do these days. Barge into your home, barge in on other people's business. No sense of decorum at all.
Keep talking about us like that, and see if any of us here will keep you out of this place.
Rebecca, stop! All of you stop this!
To hear Lily speak out loud, I can't say I'm not surprised. She's always given me the impression of someone so meek from the moment that I met her, either from her inexperience or her station in life. She's never struck me as someone fitting to be a real estate agent. If anything, that meltdown she had during the open house had only proven my assumptions. Until now. Quietly, she puts herself between me and Daisy, cutting off whatever scathing words we've yet to hurl at each other. The way she glares at me, it reminds me a little of the way my own mum would look at me. Particularly when I've done something wrong. And it's not a stare she's unused to showing. She's done this before, probably to a younger sibling. Huh. If she only sees us now as a pair of squabbling kids and not two mature adults, well, it's only to be expected. No doubt that's how she sees us. For a long moment, there's only silence in the room. Steele, the big oaf, doesn't even dare break it. We're both merely watching us. Bunch of wimps, these men. Not that it matters when Lily starts speaking again after some of the anger and tension has lifted from the room.
Stop this, please! With or without that damn piece of paper,
And then she closes her eyes, a crease forming between her eyebrows while she grips her hand tightly in front of her.
We still would have ended up in this mess.
The atmosphere that descends into this room right after that admission is anything but pleasant. Can I call it that? An admission? It seems like it from the way her eyes nervously flick between her friends and I. She appears to know more than she lets on, and how she makes herself appear smaller after dropping that bomb on us doesn't quite sit well with me. Patience is something I don't have the luxury of having right now and bestowing upon other people. What else does this girl know? What else is she not telling us? Because from the looks of this, even her friends have no idea what she's talking about. Unwilling to wait, I grab her arm before she retreats without explanation, waving the letter still in my hand in front of her.
Oh, sir, you're hurting me!
Luke, will you stop taking it out on every single person?
Your friend is hiding something, Daisy.
She struggles for a moment, but my hold eventually forces her to look up at me. Fear and uncertainty spread across her features, especially when her eyes land on the damned paper. As much as I want to be considerate right now, I want answers.
What do you mean, Lily?
I'm not sure about it.
Don't give me that, you know something!
Ow! Please, sir! I know the paper's useless, okay? Those people they mentioned in the news lately, all those who died, my co-workers, the open house clients, none of them had seen it, even Rose, and yet they're all dead. I should know, sir. That letter has been with me since I picked it up, and I swear I didn't make copies of this thing. Even if I wanted to save myself, I wouldn't do that to my friends, or anyone.
And yet we're all here! Are you taking me for a fool, Lily?
We would have ended up here either way. Maybe? I really don't know. Sir, please. All I know is that paper isn't the reason why all of this is happening. There's something else that...
This place.
Steele has been quiet this entire time. But the sound of him talking, however whispered it is, still manages to catch all of us off guard. We all pause, turning to him with likely the same questions in our eyes.
What?
Oh, I just thought... I mean, it's a straight thought, alright? Don't take my word for it.
No, it might be something. What about this place, Zach? Maybe it's also the reason why Ash went here.
There's still a moment where he hesitates, but Lily's urging eventually spurs him into speaking.
I was just thinking, maybe Ash is right for why he went here. This is where Bella found that thing, right? And then this.
Regardless, Steele pauses and allows Lily to remember. Soon enough, whatever it is dawns on her, and her face lights up with something like hope. Of all things, in this nightmare, hope! Her head snaps up as she reaches for Steele's arm to give it a squeeze. A reassurance? Or a confirmation? Meaning's lost even to Daisy, who glances at them, baffled.
Belle, what are you... Becca, it's this place. Think about it.
What? You mean, like, burn this place down?
What? No?
Well, that's a mistake. That's the wrong sprite. Mary Ann's long dead, and that should be Luke. Pay no attention to the boots.
We are not burning a multi-million-pound mansion, you peasants! I just spent a fortune on this!
Seriously, Luke, are you really more worried about that?
Buttercup, mansion, millions. It's gonna take years getting all that money back!
Well, you certainly won't be getting any of that money if you're dead. Really, Luke? Is that more important than your life?
Bloody fucking hell! Not only do I have trespassers on my property, but they're also arsonists!
How dare they suggest something like that? Bloody peasants! My head's already aching just listening to them. To think this is all the solution that they can come up with? They should have just stabbed all of them and made a run for it. Doesn't help that with each second we spend talking here, the crazier this whole place gets. The voices have become louder and somehow sounding even more vicious. If the things in the room start floating, mark my words, I will fucking flip out. And they may not be thinking of it right now, but eventually they'll turn on me. Such is the nature of humans. I better find a way out of this place as soon as possible if I want to stay alive. Fuck, I have so much to do. If only our choice doesn't seem sound, but who knows? We don't understand a shite about this place. Might as well try everything, yeah? Whatever works. If I have to be the one to make that bloody decision, so be it. Less room for errors with the only sane one doing the thinking. And the off chance I'm wrong, well, I suggested it. I'm going to regret this, I will. With these cries growing louder, this has become the easiest decision I've ever made. Getting tired of hearing her sobbing, really. It's just irritating. Isn't she getting tired of it? Besides, someone has to act fast, think fast, and what else is the root cause of our problems but the place where the letter was found? We don't need to make things more complicated. It started here, why won't it end here? If what Lily said is true, then there's all the more reason to destroy it. Put an end to this madness before someone thinks of putting this blasted place up on the market. When I get out of this place, I swear I'm suing a bunch of people. Run that estate company into the ground if need be. We spent millions, damn it. Millions! With a sigh, and perhaps a heavy heart, I opened one of the drawers in my study table, taking a bottle of liquor out for myself and then passing it on to every occupant in the room. They accept it, but not without a look of protest or a confused glance my way. It does shut them all up, so maybe I've done something
Look,
real.
this isn't the time!
Even more when I pop the cork off the bottle and pour its contents on the floor.
What are you simpletons waiting for?
We waste no time dousing the whole room, the smell of alcohol filling the air. If I didn't know any better, I'd say they're more than eager to set this whole place on fire. And the blaze catches easily in the room when I set it alight, using the blasted paper as kindling. With the whole place drenched in wine and all manner of other things alcoholic I've been hiding from Hana, the small fire soon turns into an inferno. In a matter of seconds, we're out the door. Doesn't exactly leading where I'm hoping it will. Although ending up in the kitchen does give us more reason to play like a bunch of pyromaniacs. Fishing the liquor stocks from the cupboards, we do the same thing that we've done to the study. Door after door in every room we pass, pouring bottle after bottle of expensive aged liquor and setting everything on fire, only leaving once the blaze has started in earnest. When we run out of liquor, we simply drop the bottle and take one off from the many nooks where I've stashed one. And there's no lack of it in here. The hard stuff, the shorts, the watered-down kind, gifts from a distant relative, friends, so-called friends, you name it. I've made sure that there's always one within reach.
Have you been hiding these from me all this time? How many of these are in this mansion?
Only a few bottles in the bedroom, and the parlor, and the dining room.
Lucia, we are going to have a very long discussion about this drinking problem of yours. And I'm telling your doctor.
Well, this isn't the time to discuss that.
Turns out it's useful now. Not to drown out my sorrows, but for this wonder of wonders. Though I suppose I can only now say that it's also saved my life. But there's no time for some introspection now, because with each room we pass and burn, the place also becomes easier to navigate. It's as if it's slowly righting itself, returning to what it's supposed to be. Soon we finally find ourselves standing before the main door. The strong odor of burning wood and cloth and varnish alike wafts from under the doors and out of the rooms we previously torched, slowly filling the hall with a thick, black smoke. The blaze has also started in earnest in every part of the house, and I can already feel the heat seeping from the rooms I've set aflame. In a matter of minutes, flames will engulf the whole house. Fittingly, that's when she appears again right before us, watching us from the top of the stairs while her world goes up in flames around her. However, what catches my eyes is that expression on her face. Not the vile smile I've already grown accustomed to, or the one where her eyes gleam with complete hatred. This one? Forlorn is the only word I can think to describe it.
Please, help me. Help me, please.
Can the dead still feel? Can she hear us? Or is that merely another one of her tricks to trap us in this nightmare? Like this, however, she seems almost like the woman she used to be. I don't waste any time pondering over it. Not with the exit just a few steps away. The door's finally open, and through it I can glimpse the world outside. Safety. However, I do turn, if only to see the last of her. A farewell, more than anything. For all her attempts to lure me, to draw me in, her wishes to be with me, she doesn't stop me when I finally run from this horrid place. Quietly, she disappears. Watching a multi-million-pound house burn before me, for some reason nothing about this bothers me. Maybe it's that one last look on her face that's changed it. Maybe it's what I've seen and heard inside. There's only a calm, a stillness, the same hush that comes after a terrible storm has swept the countryside. And with it is the sight of the sun rising above the horizon. Ever so slowly the sky begins to lighten before my eyes, darkness giving way to the warm morning hues, soft rays spilling over the vast expanse of Luxburn's countryside. Nearby the trees sway and rustle with the breeze, a passing draft that carries even into the room from outside, cold enough to make me shiver. The remains of a storm that has passed. In the distance I can hear the soft chirping of birds while the rest of the world stirs and wakes. Dawn, at last. We're free. Epilogue. Like the flames that engulfed the mansion last night, whispers quickly spread across Luxburn City after the incident. Officers who investigated it have simply deemed it an unfortunate accident resulting in the deaths of innocent lives. Regardless of the truth, Luke Wright files criminal charges against Briar Realty Corporation after for undisclosed reasons to the public, forcing the latter to declare bankruptcy. A move that's merely stoked the rumors further. But for those who still believe in the stories of old, and those who know the truth, it's but a testament to the curse and the secrets of the Ermengarde mansion has been hidden for centuries. If there will come a time those will finally be revealed. Only the ashes of the now ruined mansion know. However, on nights when the wind howls and the thunder booms across the sky, some still claim of hearing voices where it once stood, with cries and wails that fill the nights and desperate calls for help for anyone who dares listen. As for those who tread its halls, unable to settle their differences, Hannah Wright eventually files for a divorce from Luke Wright. For several months, they become the subject of gossips in the mass media in the city. In spite of this, the two have uncharacteristically remained tight-lipped on the circumstances of their separation. While many assumed it's the inevitable falling out stemming from their trouble during the couple's housewarming party, to everyone's surprise, however, Luke Wright quietly accepts the court decision and disappears from the Evans heiress' life without creating much fuss. Even after Hannah Evans has given birth to their children months later, the man is rarely around the family. He merely leaves the child paltry gifts in the mailbox whenever he's in town, never showing his face. With the Wright couple's separation also comes the Wright-Evans conglomerate's split-up. Though the Wright enterprise still manages to do well in the business with Evans Incorporated back as a competitor, other tech leaks place the CEO and the company under legal spotlights months later. This time, however, when the Chief Inspector Harvey Lee's sudden absence, the businessman isn't able to escape close scrutiny. In an investigation headed by the newly appointed Chief Inspector Abigail Harris, all of Wright Enterprises' illegal business dealings within the last 10 years comes to light. Although his involvement with the other crimes is still being investigated, the disclosure has caused a huge outcry, especially from the city's business sector. Sued on multiple grounds, the company is ultimately forced to shut down. Oddly, when Luke Wright steps out of his office one last time, there's only a small smile on his face. To avoid public outrage, the once affluent businessman immediately leaves the city. All of his bank accounts have been emptied, including his Luxbourne apartments, leaving not a single trace or clue of where he might be hiding. The last anyone has seen of the man was on a flight bound for Ireland. To this day, no one's heard of him. Not even Hannah Evans. Even his people from the old Wright Enterprise, who've all been left to deal with the aftermath. Over the past few months, after the situation has calmed, some have made claims of spotting him flitting in and out of the city, only to check on those he's left behind. Following the company split, Hannah Evans reestablishes Evans Incorporated, becoming its CEO like her late father always wanted for her. Though a bit out of practice, and doubted by many people at first, the Evans heiress quickly finds her bearings and proves to be every bit as talented in the business as her parents. Soon, under her management, the new Evans Incorporated flourishes, becoming one of the prime investment and finance companies in Luxbourne City. With help from family and friends, Zachary Steele is soon able to open a photography studio of his own, something he's only dreamed of having since he was a child. Though he still hopes to get back to making indie films someday, client work and small projects have kept him busy. Hectic as it may be, he can only be glad for the amount of work pouring in. It's made moving on from the incident in the Ermengarde mansion easier, if not faster. Even with his success, he still hasn't forgotten what he lost during that time. But while there are still nightmares, with support from his family, his doctor, and his own drive, the dark images have finally turned into pleasant dreams. He's aware he won't ever truly forget, but he's no longer running away. At times, when he's not busy or after a hard day's work, he thinks there's another story for the big screen to be told in that. An idea he may soon turn into reality once his time affords it. Unknown to many, Hannah Evans also played a huge role in getting Zach's new studio up and running. But for all the latter's efforts to try and thank the woman, she insists keeping her investment a secret, as she merely wishes to help out, having been impressed by his skills in the field during the brief time that they've worked together. A working relationship that continues to this day, as he's the only photographer she seeks at every event she hosts, whether it's a simple social gathering or a company party. In recent months, however, many have started to speculate that it may be more than what it appears. A rumor that only seems to grow with each sighting of the two together out on the town on a weekend, and every visit that Hannah takes to the said studio, staying for hours on end. Sometimes even bringing her children with her, who are especially fond of the photographer. Both have never directly answered what the real case between them may be. But whenever a soft smile appears on their faces when asked, many have simply learned to take it as proof and can only wish the couple well. They're happy, and no one can fault them for it. Despite his business success, however, Zack has never forgotten the sacrifice a friend made for him. Even after so many years, he remains a constant visitor to where Ashton Frey lies, staying with him a whole day sometimes, revealing him with stories about his day. Though the wounds are still fresh, Zack trudges on with life instead of wallowing in his grief. Knowing his old friend wouldn't want him clinging on to sorrow like he used to years before. It's how he's chosen to honor him. In the months that follow, Rebecca Gales becomes a prominent researcher within Luxburn's major academic circles, especially after writing what she's discovered about Ansem Village and the Ermengarde Mansion. With help from Professor Andrew Clark, she's soon able to secure funding to continue her research, presenting her findings yearly at local and international symposiums. Now, at the tail end of her current study, she hopes to publish her first book, correcting any and all inaccuracies in the city's current history. A move supported both by colleagues, students, and friends alike. Though she knows she still has a long way to go before she can even begin to change people's minds about it, Professor Clark has warned her as much. She perseveres, doing it not for herself, but for the sake of what she lost after the curse. As fresh as the wounds are still, this is how she remembers. No matter how disturbing her experience with the curse may have been, she remains the worrywart that she's always been. Even after what she's seen, she continues to fret over people she cares about, sometimes much to their frustration or embarrassment. But if there's one thing that shifted, it's her relationship with the people in their little group, particularly with Zachary Steele. In fact, on numerous occasions she's been spotted dropping by his new studio, bringing the man food on days when he's swamped with work. They've also seemed to grow more comfortable with each other than ever before. Maybe it's born out of their shared experience. Or maybe the way they see each other has simply changed naturally due to the years they've known each other. Regardless of the whys, it's a change the man welcomes and appreciates. In turn, he strives to return her kind gestures whenever he can. For all the horrors they've seen, who would have thought something good would come from it? With her newfound courage, Isabella Santos finally chooses to pursue what she really wants for herself. Having made enough to keep her family afloat for a few years, and with their blessing, she quits her job at Briar Realty Corporation and takes the scholarship offer from the local university. Though remarkably out of practice, and unsure if she'd be able to keep up by the time she returns to university, she finds her feet soon enough with help from people close to her. And with her confidence in her skills growing, so do the number of people recognizing her and her work. It doesn't take long for several award-giving bodies to take notice of her. For all her accomplishments, however, she's never truly forgotten what happened at the Ermengarde Mansion, or what she's lost. The images still remain with her, and on particularly unpleasant nights, terrors continue to visit her dreams. She knows those won't ever disappear from her life. It's become a part of her in the same way that death has permanently taken from her. However, she's no longer afraid, and with a brave face, she carries on, earnestly wishing that someday she'll be able to paint brighter and more vivid thoughts on her canvas, an honest portrayal of life and hope amidst the fear. Shortly after accepting the scholarship grant from Luxburn University, Isabella moves from Salem Mill Residences in favor of staying in a dorm close to the campus. Although Rebecca Gales' quick offer of assistance for the move, she does admit that she'll be missing her neighbor of more than 5 years. When all is said and done, she's become fonder of the girl over the years, and with their shared experience over the curse, they've only grown closer. Isabella leaves with a promise to visit every once in a while. And even though she still jokingly complains about Rebecca's bossy attitude, she confesses that she also misses the woman's fussing. After all, in a place miles away from her real family, Rebecca is still the closest thing she has to a sister. As pleasant things have gone in her life recently, Isabella greatly regrets allowing her friendship with Zack to fall apart in the aftermath of the curse. although theirs isn't brought upon by petty arguments, and like many others, the lack of communication has proven equally problematic for people like them, especially with Isabella making a conscious effort to avoid the man, and him, her, once it becomes all too clear that it's no longer something that they can fix with friendly jibes. Ultimately, drifting apart becomes certain, taking with it any previous plans that they've made. That little exhibit that they both wholeheartedly poured their ideas on seems a faraway dream now. Well, there we go. That was quite the story, and I know that I'll be playing it on my own a little bit to see some of the other paths, but this will be the only one that I do for stream. It's been a lot more narration than I thought, but it's been worth it. It's a good story, and I highly recommend playing it for yourself, even if you've seen this playthrough, because there's a lot out there that we didn't cover. A lot of other choices to be made. Presumably, just about everybody could die. I can't think of a way that anybody might not. So there's still a lot out there. Thank you guys for hanging out.
It was a simple question. My answer came too late. And every time I said no, I wanted to say yes. They say speak your mind, tell the truth, but there is room for each regret. So many fears to overcome, so little time to conquer them. I lied to the Lord, I lied to myself.
Tio? Tio? Please? She's here!